Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. This is a regular assembly meeting for Tuesday, May 5th, 2026. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
I will. Michael Bowles.
Present.
Stephanie Nowers.
Here?
Dee McKee. Maxwell Sumner.
Present.
Bill Gamble.
Here.
Dimitri Fonoff.
Over here.
Ron Bernier.
Present.
Madam Mayor, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. Is there anything that the members would like to pull from the consent agenda? Assemblyperson Bowles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to remove Resolution 26-030 and Resolution 26-043 and
Okay.
move them, excuse me.
Yeah, you won't move them. The clerk will just
We'll just
hold
separate them
them
out.
and
Okay.
then, yeah, there'll be a secondary motion
Okay.
at that time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else off the consent agenda? Okay, are there any other changes to, yep, Assemblyperson Bowles, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to pull for reconsideration ordinance 26-046 from the agenda.
Okay. Any discussion? Assemblyperson Sumner.
Yeah, I object.
Okay,
I think that we should at least be able to discuss the reconsideration. If we pull off the agenda, we don't even discuss the merits of reconsidering it.
okay. Any other, Assemblyperson Bowles?
So I can understand that. We discussed this in depth at the last meeting. We came to the conclusion that 75% was appropriate, and it passed by a 5-2 vote. So that's where I'm at on that.
Okay. Any Assemblyperson Sumner?
One clarification, actually passed the 6-1 vote, but one of the people that voted for it is now moving to reconsider it.
Okay. So, Madam Clerk?
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Assemblyperson
Yeah, I'm also,
Fonoff.
yeah, I will also want to be able to talk about it, so I do not agree with pulling this from from the agenda altogether.
Okay. Assemblyperson Nowers?
I don't mind spending a little bit of time on it, but I think we'll end up in the same place. But I will entertain folks who want to reconsider things.
Any other discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk?
If I can get the members in the room to vote on the removal of ordinance 26046
That's-
from the agenda,
Yes, to remove it.
to remove it from the agenda.
No is for us to stay. Keep it there. Okay, thank you.
Correct. Is it not working? Oh, there we go. Just lit up. Thank you. Madam Mayor, it failed with Assemblymember Bowles in support. It remains on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other changes to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, then the agenda is approved as presented. Will you all rise, please, for the pledge? And Assemblyperson McKee, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I do have two proclamations to do, one for the Older Americans Month and the other for the National Day of Prayer. And I'm going to come down, and then ladies, you can come forward. Whereas since its establishment in 1963, Older Americans Month has recognized the contribution of all older adults to our nation, to our state, and our community. Whereas older residents, and we're all getting older, even while I'm reading this, we're all getting older. The Matsu Borough has played a vital role in shaping our community through their leadership, their service, and dedication. And whereas older adults contribute as volunteers, and I'm sure you know, caretakers, mentors, and community leaders, strengthening families, neighborhoods, and civil life throughout the borough. And we're very thankful for them. Whereas the Matanuska-Susitna Borough is committed to supporting older adults, don't we know? Here I am, right? Through the program, service, and partnerships that promote independence, dignity, and quality of life. Whereas recognizing the value and contributions of older Americans fosters a stronger, more inclusive community that benefits residents of all ages. Whereas May 2026 provides an opportunity for us to honor the achievements of older Americans and encourage ongoing engagement, respect, and support for older members of our community. Now, therefore, I, Edna DeVries, Mayor of the Matsu Borough, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2026 as Older Americans Month. And so, and then I have a, would either one of you like to say something, or both of you?
Thank you, Mayor. As representative of Wasilla Area Seniors, I am honored to be here with you guys today, and I appreciate all of you who are serving, especially those of you who are 60 plus younger. Appreciate the work that you're doing and representing the senior community. And while I have the microphone, I would like to invite you all to our upcoming off and running island style brunch at Wasi, coming up Saturday at 10 a.m. With a cost of $50. But I want you to, and this event benefits all the seniors that we serve that receive Meals on Wheels. And I would also like to announce that Wasi, about 2 months ago, began to serve the seniors in the Palmer area with Meals on Wheels. While we can't help everyone, we are doing our best to help those that are the most vulnerable adults in our community. Thank you.
Brenda Sheldon, Matsu Council on Aging. I would just like to clarify that it is 60 and better. 60 and better.
So this is one for the National Day of Prayer. Whereas Americans have long time turned to prayer for guidance, strength, and thanksgiving, seeking God's wisdom and blessing throughout our nation's history. And whereas from our nation's founding documents to the present day, faith and reliance on divine providence have been acknowledged a fundamental principle. And whereas the National Day of Prayer was established by Congress in 1952 and later designated as a national annual observance on the first Thursday of May, calling upon the President to encourage prayer across the nation. And whereas the 2026 National Day of Prayer will be observed on Thursday, May 7th, with the theme, Glory God Among the Nations, Seeking Him in All Generations, inspired by 1 Chronicles 16:24. Tell of his glory among the nations, his wonderful deeds among all the people. I, therefore, as mayor of the Matsu Borough, do hereby proclaim and acknowledge May 7th, 2026 as the National Day of Prayer. The next item on our agenda is the minutes of preceding meetings and the Assembly regular meeting minutes of March 17th, 2026. Are there any changes to these minutes that we have been presented? Hearing none, the minutes are approved as presented. The next item on our agenda is reports and correspondence. Agency reports. Let's see if we see anybody from the city. We always have somebody from the city, but they never want to talk. School district. I don't see anybody from school district. I don't see Todd from the state. And then we have a committee report from the school issues and Assembly Person Hours. Did you want to?
Yeah, we had a meeting yesterday and there were quite a few topics we talked about. One of the big topics was the discussion on the closure of the schools and the status of that, and also just where we're going moving forward from that, like a long-term plan for dealing with some of the issues and drivers of what's happening in the school district, and talk of maybe a committee that is made up of school board members or citizens or both, to look at if we're going to do closures, sort of along the lines of school selection committee, having a committee that looks at school closures. We did discuss health insurance. The district said they recently received their renewal and it was an additional 26% increase over the previous year, or 6 million. They're still negotiating that and expected to have a final figure on Wednesday. We talked about the bus strike, which is thankfully over. The Durham negotiated a 3-year contract, but it's a 1-year retroactive. So it is actually a 3-year contract that expires in July of 2028, but the buses are up and running for the last of this school year and looks good moving into the next school year. And then also the district mentioned there are special ed students that missed their required number of hours, I think because of the busing. And they're going to be looking at how to make those required hours up, whether that's with a summer program or through additional hours next year.
Thank you. Are there any public I'm sorry, Assemblyperson Bowles, go ahead. Sure.
So thank you, Assemblywoman Nowers, for that information. So speaking of the Durham contract, I'm curious if it's possible to reach out, since you're on the committee, and see if they would be willing to provide the contract that they came to, so that we could provide it to parents in the borough for full transparency of what was negotiated.
Okay.
It didn't get said on the record, but the manager said he could request that from the district. Get it?
Thank you.
Other questions? Ready? Are there any public relations reports? I think maybe some of you have seen the photos from Point McKenzie from last Friday, where we entertained 8 Washington state legislators that came to the port. They are all legislators that live in the Tacoma area. And one of the additional people that was there was a commissioner of the Tacoma Port Authority. And she comes often. In fact, she's going to be here in October for the state chamber meetings. And so one of the questions I asked her was, of the imports that we bring into the state of Alaska, whether it comes into our port or whether it comes into Anchorage or Seward or wherever, what the percentage was, and she said 92%, which was really an amazing figure to me. And they were all very impressed with us. They had spent the week here in Alaska. They'd been down to Seward, of course, into Anchorage and Whittier, and we was a divine appointment to have the ship in at that time, as well as the barge on location. And so our port really looked great and very, very active. So that worked out very, very well. They were very impressed with us. And Assemblyperson Fono, go ahead.
No, I just said that's perfect timing, and it worked out.
Yeah,
I got
it
a chance
was.
to go there, and it was a beautiful scene there. Very well operated port.
Yeah. Yeah, we couldn't have timed it better if we'd have worked it out. And we didn't work it out. It's just the way things happened, and so we were happy about that. Oh, Assemblyperson Mallers.
What were they were touring these other ports. What was their purpose for being up here?
Well, there's an organization called the Pacific Northwest Economic, and I can't remember, region. Yeah, and so they're made up of Washington, Montana, Oregon, parts of Canada, and it's an organization that the first time I heard about it was when Representative McCabe started going to their meetings. And yeah, Mike, you want to say anything else about them? So, yeah, so they're apparently a pretty active group. As I said, the commissioner for the port, the lady that I asked about the question about, one of the questions I always ask to the people that come, have you ever been to Alaska? And so she started rattling off, and I think she said, yeah, I'm a frequent flyer. She said, I think she's been here like 10 times in the last maybe 4 years or something. So she's very active in what goes on in Alaska. And so they were very impressed. Mike happened to be Johnny on the spot and had our seal available, so we were able to give, the little seals that sit like that. And so that was a very nice touch. Deputy Mayor, did you have a comment?
I was just going to say the Point McKenzie prayer group must be really paying dividends.
Yeah,
Amen.
yeah. So, oh, I'm sorry. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, because I was able to get out there too. And
Yeah, you were there with us.
yeah, Director Griffin made a great presentation, but really fortunate because some of our Valley legislative delegates are on Penwar. In fact, Representative Delana Johnson, I think she may be the current president of Penwar, but she couldn't be here because she had committee meetings. But they're very active in pushing projects and policies that help develop areas. And so they're very, like you said, they're very interested in what's going on out here in Alaska, but especially Port McKenzie. And I really appreciate it, Dave, that you're able to get those folks out here with Representative McCabe's help, and we got to host them. So thank you.
Yeah. We could give Dave all the credit for organizing all of that, but I think he would be one that would say, but we do appreciate what you do for us at the port, Dave. Any other comments or anything? Okay. Mr. Manager, report. Okay. Mr. Attorney. Okay. Madam Clerk.
Clerk's report's in your red folder, and it's got the upcoming next 3 agendas, this Thursday, next Tuesday, and next Thursday, all budget deliberation meetings.
Okay. And the next item is citizens and other correspondence. Are there any comments from the assembly on the citizens and the other correspondence? Assemblyperson Bowles, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yep, so, I attend all of the community council meetings in District 1, and so something that I'm going to be moving forward, and that 3 community councils are in alignment with South Kinnick River, Lazy Mountain, and Butte community councils. They have all signed resolutions for moving to designate the Old Glen all the way to the bridge, basically from the bridge all the way to mile 1. We call it Giant's Foot there at the bridge. And so we're going to work on trying to designate that as a safety corridor.
Okay.
And then, so that's something that they're really interested in doing. There's been a lot of growth in that area in District 1. Many developments going in, a lot more traffic, a lot more speeding, and it's getting a little bit more dangerous. So, they're really looking forward to, hopefully maybe next legislative session, our legislators can work on that. So,
Okay. Okay, any other comments on the citizens and other correspondence? Okay. Madam Clerk.
IM 26082, informing the Assembly of the manager's signature on a grant and application for submission to the Alaska State Department of Fish and Game Hunter Access Grant Program for the Jonesville Phase 1 project.
Okay. Are there any comments on the IM? Okay, hearing none, then they are presented. The next item under special orders is audience participation, and it looks like we have a sign-in sheet. And as always, we call on the people that have signed up, and then we will go into asking if anybody else has. Under audience participation, you will have 3 minutes, and it can be anything that's on the agenda or anything that you want to talk to the assembly about. And then, I don't know, we do have some people online. We will listen to them also. So the first person that has signed up is Dennis Weatherworld.
Dennis, if I could get you to push the button to turn it on, and then you could just leave it on. Thank you, sir.
My name is Dennis Weatherall. I am here to support RS 26030 and to address the need for a hydrologic survey to be completed before any further excavation and gravel removal is performed at the gravel pit located between Crimson View subdivision and Canoe and Irene Lakes. I own 2 lots on the northeast end of Canoe Lake and have lived there since 1990. Prior to 2004, the lake level was fairly stable. It'd go up and down a little bit, mostly down, but less than 1 foot on an annual basis. Since 2004, the surface of Canoe Lake has risen about 10 feet above its lowest point, rising nearly a foot every year since 2020. I attribute that to the work that has been ongoing in that gravel pit and the excavation that they've done. I believe they broke through an aquifer, and that was under discussion several years ago when they wanted to put in a demolition dump. And when the home I live in was built in 1984, the setback between my septic system and Canoe Lake was 156 feet. Today, the setback is about 70 feet. The lot my home was built on is platted at 1.26 acres. However, today, using the 2025 imagery available on the borough's My Property website, and overlain on the original plat, I estimate the size of my home site parcel as 0.94 acres, a loss of about 1/3 of an acre in the last 10 years. The adjoining parcel that I own was platted as a single piece of land, 2.29 acres in size, which curves around the northeast end of Canoe Lake. Using the My Property website, it is clear that rising lake waters have cut that parcel in half. And one of the two pieces remaining is 0.91 acres and the other 0.53, for a total loss of nearly 0.85 acres since 2004 on that parcel. Private property is not the only land that has been affected by previous gravel extraction. About 20 years ago, a boat ramp was built by the park department in the public access area at the southwest end of Canoe Lake. Today, that ramp sits under several feet of water. A couple of years ago, Irene Lake overflowed and washed out the park road, providing public access to Irene and Long Lake. At one point, about a foot of water was overflowing the road. Prior to that time, there was around 100 feet of brushland between Irene and the road. In conclusion, I want to reiterate the need to conduct a hydrologic survey. Thank you.
Crystal Butcher. Thank you. You can go ahead and start. Just state your name.
Thank you, ma'am. My name is Crystal Butcher. I am the owner of Kepler Park, located on Kepler and Bradley Lakes. 74 years ago, my great-grandfather started our boat rental business. Being in business, and I am speaking in regards to the 26030 as well. I meant to say that. Being in business for over 74 years has meant we have experienced many changes over the years. The most significant change, though, has been in recent years when the water levels started rising. Naturally, during this time of year, the water rises a couple inches from ice melt, then goes down to normal levels by midsummer. But in 2023, we noticed the water level rising at the end of the summer. By that October, our most popular lakeside campsite was underwater. It became a complete loss. It didn't stop there. Since then, we have lost half of our most sought-after lakeside sites, as well as a loss of income. Winter 24-25 was the worst. The water continued to rise throughout the winter, freezing up around our office, and in that spring, our office was 2 feet into the water. There were fish swimming in our parking lot. Over the last 3 years, the lakes have rapidly risen at least 3 feet. The shoreline is unstable, and many large trees have died and fallen into the lakes with the water coming up. In addition to losing real estate to the 4-lane highway project, my business is getting pinched, figuratively and literally. Our large, well-maintained boat launch is completely gone, and launching boats from the edge of the parking lot is inconvenient and somewhat dangerous. Again, this spring, our office is compromised, and consequently, Kepler Park will not be opening this summer. After talking, I'm sorry, I did not read over this a million times, it just hit me. Baloney, sorry. After talking to other property owners in the area, including our wonderful representative, Stephanie Nowers, I've been disappointed to learn of the lack of oversight and accountability over the gravel pit companies throughout the years. Why has there been such a lack of responsibility? Dredging needs to be strictly regulated. Hydrology studies need to be conducted. There's so much that should have been done and taken into consideration years ago to prevent the problem we're facing now. I was a kid when the gravel pits started expanding on the west side of the Glen Highway. Now I'm an adult having to deal with issues that have been dropped in my lap. This issue has kept me awake at night, wondering how I am literally going to keep my business afloat. Things will only get worse if the Mat-Su Borough does not take this seriously. Please help take care of this issue now so that my great-grandchildren will not be affected. Thank you.
Thank you. John?
I'm John Butcher. I'm Crystal's husband. Just to kind of speak on what she just talked about, I think it's super important for the assembly to, we can talk about budgets and we can talk about money and we can talk about this cost that, but we need to consider the actual people that are being affected by this, the property owners, the business owners. We are losing our park. We're losing our land. We're losing our income. This year, as she said, 100% loss of income from Kepler Park. We're not going to be able to open because of the condition of our bridge due to the rising water and the loss of land. So I just think it's very important that you guys consider the people, the property owners, the people in that area that are being affected by this. And this Pegasus Lake project is predicted to raise the water levels to the south up to 2 feet. That will be a complete loss of our bottom side of our park. We cannot afford 2 more feet of water down there. We need to have a study. We need to figure out where this water is coming from, why this is happening. This is absolutely not a natural occurrence. We've been told it was snow melt. We've been told it's global warming. We've been told it's a natural thing. It is not. 74 years of stable water levels, and then all of a sudden, it's rising out of control. This is not natural, and it needs to be studied. We need to figure out what's going on. We need to come up with a plan to curb it and a plan going forward to make sure this doesn't continue to happen, because people are losing their property, they're losing their livelihoods. So please take it into consideration. I think we need to fund this study, and we need to get to the bottom of what's happening out there. Thank you.
Tom?
May I yield my time to the unfinished? I think she had more to say.
Can you come to the phone?
Can I give her my time?
No, I'm sorry, you can't.
It's a low budget borough.
Okay, Tom.
What to tell you. I'm back again.
Okay.
And for 4 years, I've been trying to get this hydrant, what I call an emergency fill station for the fire department. And I have a letter of support. I asked the borough mayor to sign it, to send it to the city of Palmer. The city of Palmer has a water main that goes underneath the highway at mile 37 and feeds the hospital. And I've been trying to get this hydrant. There's a picture there of this hydrant up, so the fire station, for a fire truck to be able to pull off the highway, turn around, fill up, and go. One fire truck, one fireman, gone off the highway. It's a lot safer. Well, I've been trying for 4 years to do this. So the city of Palmer, I can't believe this, they went and took the hydrant out. I never heard of anybody doing that. In the fire department, we've moved hydrants, but we never took them out and just did away with them. And my contention with the city of Palmer, just because you haven't used it, doesn't mean you don't need it. Like there's fire extinguishers somewhere. There's a fire. I don't know where. But anyways, if you could have a fire extinguisher on the wall for 50 years and never use it, but that doesn't mean you can just say, hey, well, we haven't used this, so we'll just take it off. There's no fire insurance company in the world that lets you get away with that. Anyways, the hydrant needs to go back where it was. We need to be able to use it. Now, I don't want to hear any more lies about it's not in our jurisdiction. The fire trucks that in the borough, they're part of the borough. The firemen who drive the fire trucks, they're part of the borough. They're in your jurisdiction. The water that they use to put out fires, that's in your jurisdiction too. So I don't want to hear any more about it's not in your jurisdiction. The hydrant itself and the water main belongs to the city of Palmer. I need a letter of support from you so I can go back and get this thing taken care of. The state and I would have done it for free. When they were doing the highway, I just asked for like 20 dump trucks of gravel. They had thousands of trucks going by with gravel. They put millions of cubic yards of gravel. They'd have done it for free. And here I am 4 years later, still begging for somebody to go out there. I'd hate to go out with my little plastic shovel and shovel all that, but that might be what happens. Anyways, I strongly urge you, sign the letter of support. You can do it tonight. I'll take it over tomorrow if you want. Just so I can get the city of Palmer to put that fire hydrant back in where it was. You might have to raise it up the ground, off the grade. But anyways, we're trying to protect our firefighters. We don't want them hurt or killed alongside the highway. Too many times fire truck emergency vehicles sitting on the shoulder, not in the driving room, just sitting on the shoulder have been hit by people. With all the, I don't know, I give up. I'll come back next time.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Kathy?
Good evening. My name is Kathy Kaiser, and I'm speaking tonight as Alaska Chapter Leader for Authors Against Book Bans and an active member of the Freedom to Read Coalition that helped draft Senate Bill 238. We all strongly support Senate Bill 238 and urge this assembly to vote against RS 26-043, which opposes the bill. In the beginning of this meeting, it was really confusing, and I'm still not sure if it's still on tonight's agenda or not. It is. I also want to address the process being used here tonight. The resolution should not have been placed on the consent agenda without a public hearing. The consent agenda is meant for routine, non-controversial items, things like approving meeting minutes or renewing contracts. RS 26-043 is clearly controversial and deserves open discussion and public testimony. Fast-tracking it through a single vote without proper public input is unfair to the people you represent. There has been a lot of misinformation about SB 238. This bill does not weaken Alaska's obscenity laws, and it does not remove protections for minors. What it does is recognize that librarians and educators are trained professionals who make decisions using established policies and professional standards. We already provide similar legal protections to teachers, doctors, and other professionals acting in good faith while doing their jobs. Librarians should not face criminal liability simply for providing access to constitutionally protected library materials. SB 238 also creates a fair and transparent process for reconsidering library materials. It requires that books be evaluated as a whole, not judged by isolated passages taken out of context. It keeps materials available during review, and it bases decisions on professional standards rather than political pressure or personal disagreement with a viewpoint. Just as important, the bill still protects parental involvement. Parents will continue to have a voice through structured reconsideration procedures while preventing sudden removals, funding threats, or politically motivated censorship from overriding professional library practices. Overall, SB 238 supports local control, professional expertise, parental engagement, and constitutional rights. It brings clarity where confusion currently exists and reaffirms Alaska's commitment to education, intellectual freedom, and the rule of law. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Jackie?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Assembly members. My name is Jackie Goforth. Should SB 238 be passed, this book would be something that nobody could take care of. Now, I'm here to talk to you again about Let's Talk About It. And the reason why is this book as a whole fails to have serious value in literary, artistic, educational, political, and scientific. And today we're going to go over a whole different set. The first one is literary. On page 25, you will find two obese lesbian women, and they're asking if things are looby enough. Add that to your hungry hiney for literary excellence. The next one you see is on page 79 and 80. This one's for educational. This is what happens if you go through puberty, supposedly. And as you can see, if you're generally get testosterone, you will end up a spindly white guy. Remember, every white guy in here is homosexual. Or you will end up as the one on the bottom right, who's obviously a female. Now, the next page you see, on the right, you will see a very masculine-looking woman. who had estrogen, but on the upper right or upper left, you'll see a definite male who also had estrogen. Now, the educational part of this is nowhere in this book does it tell you you have to take gender drugs. You have to take puberty blocking drugs. That's a failure in education. Next, let's look at page 47. Now, this is the failure in scientific. This actually, now remember, this is in nonfiction. The male-female binary, that's heterosexuality, is an obsolete concept. Obsolete concept. It's not either, it's a biological reality. If it was obsolete, there wouldn't be a species of that kind. Now, if you want to know what the Gallup poll found in 2022, they found that 7.3% of Americans say that they are LGBTQ, which means 92.3% are not. That is not obsolete. Next, you're going to find the subliminal reference to DEI. Now, DEI is anti-white racist and showing you that white males are the problems. So if you are in an abusive relationship and you're a victim, you're a little black fellow, a little colored person. Subliminal. Hey, if you're an abuser in a situation, you're the white guy. This book fails in just about everything throughout the book as a whole. And the last one. The reason why no books have been challenged or no librarian has been charged is because it takes a crime. Having this book there is not a crime, but distributing it to a minor is. And in order to get the crime on the books, it takes a parent and a minor to file the police report. And if that happens, they will be gifted and cursed with the exact same amount of demeaning, mocking, ridicule, and punishment that the library board receives. And if you want to know what that's like, please look at the Susitna one from April 14th, last month. Start at the 1 hour, 30-minute mark, and you will hear what that sounds like. Thank you. Oh, and last of all. No. Sorry, one more. The last thing is, I want to quote Hugh Leslie from last year. As a staff person, I'm telling you, we are not going to personally attack other board members. We are not going to allow the public to attack board members, and we're not going to allow the board to attack members of the public.
Jackie, can you wrap it up?
Thank you.
Please? Okay, Linda?
Hello, my name is Linda Spohn. In the closing comments at the last assembly meeting dated 4/21/26, our borough attorney said, and I quote, "I will tell you, not a single librarian in the United States has been charged with violating based on any book, the Miller test," unquote. Now let me get this correct. We won't enforce the obscenity laws to protect children and minors because no other state has done anything. Well, I have good news for you. A Tennessee librarian was fired for refusing to move more than 100 LGBTQ books from the children's to adult section. 100 LGBTQ books. What would you call that if it isn't grooming? Furthermore, 19 states have passed laws defining grooming, and 17 of those states criminalize grooming a minor for sexual abuse as a felony. Other states have anti-grooming laws pending. I realize other states have different laws and for sure different legislators. Our Alaska state legislators want to protect teachers, librarians, and museum workers from prosecution instead of protecting children and minors by introducing Senate Bill 238. I quote thehill.com, "Republican-led states have spearheaded the charge in state and local policies, moving books with these topics out of the kids' shelves or removing them from the library completely." That was spearheaded the charge in state and local policies. Okay? Unquote. Sounds like other states are way ahead of Alaska. There are no laws against removing books, but there are obscenity laws. You are so worried about lawsuits. Does it not occur to you that you could be sued for child sexual exploitation? In addition, I listened to the last Matsu Library Advisory Board meeting on 4/14/26. Your borough employees were very disrespectful to the board members, causing chaos during and after public testimony. She needs to be reprimanded for her offensive comments and actions. Manager Brown needs to be accountable for the department heads and see to it that these meetings are not unruly. The board members were sincerely trying to maintain control. Thank you in advance for your immediate attention into this matter. May God in heaven save the people and especially the children and minors of the Mat-Su Borough through the shed blood of Christ Jesus, our Lord and Savior. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary?
Good evening. My name is Mary Robinson. I'm a Mat-Su Borough resident, a taxpayer. When I left off on the last assembly meeting, who knew that I needed to rearrange my schedule? So many exciting things happen at the end of the meeting. Introduction of taking books off the shelf, and well, I'm just going to have to take a nap between work and coming to the meeting. So what I left off talking about is I was asking why on the vacancy report that a very well-qualified person their nomination had not been moved forward. It had been 7 months since they had applied. Now I see a second well-qualified person has applied for the Trapper Creek seat for the Library Advisory Board, and I hope that you will consider both of them. Going on that theme, I see that the Fire Service Area Board and 2 of the Road Service Area Boards have also been hanging fire, if you will, since October of last year. All 3 very well qualified, all 3 reappointments, but yet they have not been moved forward. And then there in the vacancy report is someone who has resigned because they said that they didn't agree with the borough. So something's going on with the boards and commissions. And watching the Library Advisory Board, and it's very important that everyone understands, everyone that's listening and watching, that it's an advisory board. They have no power. They are an advisory board. I would recommend, and I have seen the borough attorney, I have seen borough staff try for the Library Advisory Board, Robert's Rules of Order. At this point, I'd be happy if they followed Bob's Rules of Order. Just out of control. And at the last meeting on April 14th in Talkeetna, the chair decided that public participation was not needed, was not necessary. And then they were told, well, no, that wasn't the democratic process. That wasn't how freedom in America worked. And they decided that public participation should be at the very end. Once again, the Assembly has misunderstood what libraries are and what they provide the community. Once again, the Mat-Su Borough and the Library Advisory Board has disregarded legal standards, professional guidance, and the rights of the community. I oppose the Mat-Su Borough Resolution 26-043. And one last thought, if a Mat-Su Borough library patron checks out a book and does not return the book, is that engaging in censorship? Thank you for your time.
Okay, Susan Edge?
Good evening. I've been here before. I'm a property owner on Sherrod Drive by Echo Lake, and I've lived next to the gravel pits for about 30 years. And I just found out what was going on, so I'm not really very well prepared, but I was actually very surprised that a project of this magnitude would even start to go forward without a hydrology study. There's like 150, 200 homes affected in that area. Those are taxpayers. A lot of them are seniors. You know, a lot of people have lived there a long time. And I just heard about the Kepler's problems. And I believe that a stable Water supply and stable property lines are a right of residents of this borough. We pay the taxes. We all pay them every year. And our water is really, really important. And you can see what's happened to the park. They just built the new highway. They lowered the road immensely. It's very close. Echo Lake, if you drive by there, Echo Lake and Kepler Bradley Lake are not far from the road. So before a major water project goes forward, I urge you to get a hydrology study to see scientifically what we're dealing with. Thank you.
Can I have you state your name, please, for the record?
I'm sorry. Susan K. Edge.
Thank you. Okay. Ann? Is there an Ann here? Looks like Mears. Ann Mears? Okay. Ready? Is that an A? Avery Annette?
I think it's Stacy Stewart, actually.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you, Stacy Stewart. Okay. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Stacy Stewart, and I'm here with my 2 children back there in support of the hydrological study for the Palmer area. I was born and raised within walking distance of Matanuska and Kepler Bradley lakes. My childhood was spent in and around all of those lakes, and I now have a home of my own on Canoe Lake since 2017, and it is my forever home. I have seen firsthand the rising lake levels over the years, and it's very concerning to me. Kepler Park is a prime example. As a kid, I remember being able to paddle a canoe underneath a bridge. Over time, we had to start to duck, and now that water is kissing the bottom of the bridge. And if you haven't been paying attention to the rising levels of Kepler Bradley Lakes, you should now that the Glen Highway has been lowered so close to the proximity of those lakes. Last year, the water level at Canoe Lake and Irene Lakes increased dramatically, so much so that the road to Irene Lake flooded, and it wasn't from our low snow winter. And I have some pictures here that I brought along. We measured about the deepest section, about a foot deep. But what's really frustrating is being an invested home owner now and seeing my property markers go further underwater. I'm still required to pay taxes on that land I've lost, yet the gravel company remains negligent and is not being held accountable, in my opinion. Digging so close to a water table or dredging impacts the distribution of water and can affect the productivity of our wells and the quality of our drinking water. At the very least, I'm asking that the members of this community deserve to get a closer look. It's been about 20 years of these unusual fluctuations, so we are long overdue. I urge your support for this scientific study. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Rebecca Jeffers?
Hello, my name is Rebecca Jeffers. I live on Canoe Lake at my family's home. My grandparents bought it back in the 70s, and so I have been there throughout all of this. The gravel pit has started puncturing the aquifer back in the 80s. There was a couple years where the water went up and down. Then in the mid 90s, it started to dramatically go up and down every year. And since about 2019, 2020, it dramatically rose at over 3 feet just in that amount of time. I agree that the gravel company shouldn't be allowed to dig that deeply. They know very well where the water line is, and they should not be touching it at all in the slightest. Irene Lake, you used to have to walk 75 yards, 225 feet from the parking area to the lake to fish. Now the water goes over the parking area. In Canoe Lake, you used to be 75 yards from the edge of the parking lot to the water's edge. Now, as of last spring, that was only 40.3 yards, 121 feet. That is a loss of 34.67 yards of horizontal ground. That is a monumental amount of water that takes to fill that up, because those lakes don't go up straight on the sides. They come out dramatically. So that is a great amount of water. If this is allowed and the water rises that much, then the borough should be responsible for hooking people in the affected area up to the Palmer sewer system, because we will not be able to use our septic systems at that point. Bradley Kepler, as you've heard, has risen over 6 feet since 1998. That water was less than 2 feet deep when the bridge was built. Now it is at the bridge and will soon be over the bridge. If that much land becomes water, how can it be properly reclaimed? The gravel pit does have a reclamation clause that it should be adhered to. And when they sold to Monofil, they were supposed to have that reclamation clause, and that should have been a public sale, and it wasn't. The increased surface water area would also cause an impact on mosquito population. What would that mean for the ecosystem around that, short-term and long-term effects? And a much better use of this land, instead of them puncturing aquifers over and over, would be to use it as a park or build another subdivision, because that is a very prime location that would be great for a subdivision. There'd be lots of people that would want to move in there with their kids. So in short, I really hope I did send off a written testimony with 3 packets in it of research that I've done on Irene Lake, Canoe Lake, and Bradley Kepler Lake, and I hope you look at it.
Okay, that takes care of the people that signed up. Is there anyone that hasn't signed up and hasn't spoken that would like to speak? Yeah, I don't see any movement. Okay, go ahead, who's ever online, please.
Hello, Madam Mayor. My name is Butch Moore. Hello, Assembly members and staff. I'm calling in on Ordinance 26-046, which, Assembly members, you have some papers in your packet. One of the main reasons that the LID percentage of voting was changed to 54% was a line that I was actually involved in Big Lake going down Bellardi Boulevard. There were originally 24 owners, and we couldn't quite get 75%. So our assembly member from Big Lake got that switched back to 54%. And I think one of the key things here to understand, this is about property rights. And what happens, I've been on both sides several different times on this. First time I experienced it, LID passed, I had to write a check, and I wasn't very happy about it. But then I realized that I got a great value for the cost that I paid, and my property value has gone up. On the other side, what happened at Bellardi when we didn't get it past 24 owners, 8 of us got together, and we paid that. We started the process 2020. I didn't start it, one of my neighbors did, and then in 2021, it failed, and in 2022, 8 of us got together, and we just paid it. We just paid for the gas line. And so now, after 2 years, any of the people that didn't want it, didn't vote for it, they can connect for free. So it is about property rights. It's about the property rights of the people that pay for the gas line or the utility line or a road for the LID. And so it is very unfair for certain people to pay for it and other people to have a benefit where they didn't pay for it. And on the other side, if an LID passes, the people that didn't want it, that pay for it, they can do through their taxes, but they are receiving a benefit. They're receiving a value, and whether they receive that value that day, I still haven't connected. I mean, I've got the gas line to my house, but I have oil appliances, so I haven't connected to it yet. But the people that would vote no or wouldn't want it, they still receive the value of what they're paying for. And I suggested that maybe 65% would be a better number, but I was thinking about all the homeowners associations I've been involved with, a lot of them. And most of the covenants, they've already figured this out. Most of the covenants are 67%. That's the vote to change the covenants. So I guess I would say to the Assembly, when you bring this back up for reconsideration, another factor is there was a massive amount of time by the borough put in by Marcia, who really tried to get this thing through. If it's 75%, it's going to be really difficult to get that many people, percentage-wise, to agree to anything. At 67%, it's and I think that would be a better use of the borough's resources to put forward things that'll pass. So I would ask to change it to 67%. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do you have anybody else online, sir? Okay, one last chance for anybody that's here that hasn't had a chance to testify on anything and talk about whether it's on the agenda or not. See any motion at all? Okay, I don't. So I'll close audience participation and Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 26047, an ordinance accepting and appropriating $250,000 from the Matsu Trails and Parks Foundation for the Government Pink Recreation Area Traverse Trail and Ski Talk Summer Trails Survey Project, and authorizing the manager to execute the grant agreement with accompanying resolution 2632, a resolution approving the scope of work and budget of the Government Peak Recreation Area Traverse Trail and Ski Talk Summer Trails Survey Project. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing, and at this time, the testimony to the Assembly should pertain to the ordinance 26-047 and the resolution 26-032. Is there anyone we don't have a sign-up sheet? Okay. Anyone that would like to address the Borough Assembly on either that ordinance or resolution? Okay. Do we have anybody online? We do not. Okay. Go ahead and close the public hearing. And Assemblyperson Bolts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to adopt ordinance 26-047 and resolution 26-032.
Okay. Would you like to speak to it, or anybody would like to speak to it? Okay. Alrighty. Is there any objection? No objection, then the legislation passes.
Ordinance 26049, an ordinance reappropriating $125,000 from the Planning Department's fiscal year 2026 operating budget to fund the Port McKenzie Master Plan update, with accompanying resolution 2635, a resolution approving the scope of work and budget for the Port McKenzie Master Plan update. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
Okay, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. And like the last one, if you want to testify before the Assembly, it should pertain to ordinance 26-049 and resolution 26-035. And we do not have a sign-up sheet. Do we have anybody online, sir? We do not. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And Assemblyperson Gamble.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to adopt ordinance 26-049 and accompanying resolution 26-035.
Okay. Discussion by the Assembly. Let's go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I just think the timing of this is perfect with all the interest and activity that's going on out at the port right now. It's been needed, the master plan's been needed to be updated for a while now. And this is not new money, it's money that's already in a budget that's just being reappropriated to get this master plan update done. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
I say whatever Dave wants, Dave gets.
Assemblyperson Nowers.
I'd just say that, we've done master plans in the past. We did I can't remember what it's called, but we looked at a joint, expanded port operation with Anchorage. And And so we have spent money on plans, but things have changed a lot and there's a lot happening out there. So I can see value in redoing this and taking a look at it again.
Any other discussion? Okay. Any objection to the motion? Okay. Seeing and hearing none, the legislation passes. Now we are to the second, audience participation. If you testified under the first one, then you can't testify under this one. But if you didn't testify under the first one, you're welcome to testify. Oh, she's gone, so we must not have we do not have a sign-up sheet. So I'll open audience participation to anybody that would like to address the assembly. Do we have anybody online? We do not have anybody online. Okay, I'll close audience participation. And we're at the consent agenda. We have some items pulled, but is there any other items that anybody would like to pull? Okay, seeing and hearing none, then Madam Clerk, would you please read the consent agenda?
Resolution 2637, a resolution amending the scope of work and budget within the Transportation Infrastructure Projects 2024 to reallocate funds from Settlers Bay Drive pavement preservation to Burma Road safety improvements. Resolution 2639, a resolution amending the scope of work for the parking lot striping project fiscal year 2026. Resolution 2642, a resolution amending the scope of work and budget within the Meadow Lakes Road Service Area number 27 to reallocate funds from the West Swan Drive and South Rainbow Street improvements to Herkimer Drive and Spring Drive improvements. AM 2645 awarded bid number 26137B to Northern Asphalt Construction in the amount of $292,352 to construct East Kinnick View Drive and South Kinnick Circle Street improvements. AM 2646 awarded bid number 26142B Alaska Clearwater Mechanical in the contract amount of $123,441 for the Colony Middle School boiler pump upgrades. AM 2647, authorization to renew the borough's enterprise tax and assessment software with Tyler Technologies under a 3-year agreement covering July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2029, with annual payments averaging $416,095 subject to appropriation. AM 2648, authorization to renew the borough's Microsoft Enterprise agreement with Cran Software Experts under a 3-year agreement covering July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2029, with annual payments of $476,979.91, subject to appropriation. AM 2649, authorization to renew the borough's GIS software and services within the Environmental Systems Research Institute under a 3-year agreement covering July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2029, with an annual payments averaging $303,936, subject to appropriation. AM 2651, authorization to renew Palo Alto software and hardware with Worldwide Technology under a 3-year agreement covering July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2029. The total cost of the agreement is $258,937.41, with the annual payment subject to appropriation. AM 2652, approval of change order number 2 for contract number 25124P with P&D Engineers for the Wolf and Heart Lakes Drainage Study and Improvements Design Project to add $229,230 for design services and extend the completion date to December 31st, 2028. AM 2653 awarded bid number 26140B to Granite Construction Company for the contract amount of $4,482,500 for the construction of school safety improvements at Shaw Elementary School in Phase 1 of the Foxtrot Extension. And AM 2654, approval of contract amendment number 2 to contract number 26112B with Alaska Industries, adding an additional $42,020.77 for surface treatment for the Brett Ice Rink rubber flooring replacement due to elevated moisture levels.
Deputy Mayor.
I move to approve the consent agenda as read into the record by the clerk.
Is there any objection from the assembly? Okay, hearing none, the consent agenda has been approved. But
Resolution 2630, a resolution amending the scope of work and title of the Public Outreach, Education, and Incentives Subproject Account and authorization to use of existing fiscal year 2026 project funds to solicit and request for proposals for qualified hydrologists to study long-term water level changes, associated property impacts, and potential risks to drinking water quality in the Palmer area. It was pulled by Assemblymember Bowles.
Okay. Assemblymember Bowles, will you move, please? And then we can discuss.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move RS 26-030. And
Okay, would you like to speak to it?
well, I'll concede if Assembly Person Nowers wants to start. I'm not in disagreement. I just have a lot of questions, concerns. It's technical, and that's why I pulled it. It's just a technical resolution. I think Alex is here. I spoke to him. Just a lot of information, and we've only had 2 weeks to read this, so that's why I pulled it. So,
Okay. Do we have any objection from the Assembly regarding bringing Alex up? Okay. Sir, do you want to come? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm Alex Strawn, Planning Director for the borough, and I guess I would just answer any questions that you have. There's a long, complicated history with the gravel pits south of Palmer. I haven't done a super deep dive into the history recently, but I do have a lot of knowledge of what has occurred in this area and what impacts this hydrology study might be able to benefit the members in that area.
Alex, can I get you to move the mic more in front of you?
Thank you. I've been told I talk too quiet while I'm up here. So.
Okay. So, well, I have two people down there. Assemblyperson Gamble and then
Yeah, Alex.
Petrie, and then there's some people down here. Is there? Okay.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. Alex, could you kind of just describe for me what one of these hydrology samples would look like? I mean, just explain to me what all they would be looking at and how would they go about doing it?
Well, so that's a great question. And I don't know if we have that completely hammered out. There's a lot of different things that a hydrologist can do to determine, the things that are in this resolution. Certainly looking at historical imagery and historical topography data. There have been hydrology studies on this very spot in the past, including a lot of, we have regular water quality samples that are done in these dredging operations that are submitted to the borough as well as there's different tools that are available looking at well data, looking at historic lake level data, maybe doing a dye test. They do tests where they put like a radioactive isotope in the water and sense where that goes, things like that. So there's a lot of tools that a hydrologist has in their toolbox to determine what impacts might have occurred and could occur to surrounding properties.
Okay, and Assemblyperson Fanak.
After reading the resolution, I wanted mayor to consider asking if anybody of this body is directly impacted potentially for the study, and if there is a judgment call needs to be made if there is a conflict of interest because of who lives where and what the study will affect. So I have a concern with that before, so we can discuss the subject without being to have a neutral perspective.
Okay. Let's see, Michael Bowles. Assemblyperson Bowles, did you know?
So I do not have any conflicts with this subject. So my questions are around, I live down Kinnick River Road, just so everybody knows. So my brief understanding after speaking with you, Alex, and reading just the documents we have, looking at the maps, sounds like this problem's been going on since about 2006, right? And there was a breakthrough, and that was the first incident in 2006 when there was a breakthrough. It caused a lot of silt to enter into the drinking water, and from there, if you don't mind, so you said there's been hydrology, hydrologists have gone out there and looked at this, or they've looked at information. And we were kind of talking before the meeting a little bit about DEC and DNR, if they've been involved in this. And I'm wondering if there's a different approach that might be more appropriate, actually bringing this to the state since there is a dam involved.
Yeah. So first of all, I would say Assemblymember Nowers has been involved in this for a long time. She's very intimately familiar with this, so she would be a good source of information as well. I will tell you that I believe that it was 2004 when there was what's known as the Wilder Pit. If you look at the south of Palmer, there's 3 dredge ponds that are right next to each other. 2 of the dredge ponds, so they were working west when they ran into a clay, or not a clay, it's a silt lens is what it's called. Essentially an impermeable vertical seam that they punctured, according to the reports that we have in our record, which caused essentially one aquifer to start blending in with another aquifer. And there was a report done, a couple of different hydrological reports done somewhere in the 2010 timeframe. And essentially, in a very short amount of time, allegedly, that dredge pond lowered about 7.5 feet really quickly, caused some flooding, allegedly caused potentially some septic systems to fail, some well levels to change, and some lake levels to change in a small amount of time. And that's sort of the start of this whole thing here. After that, so at the time, the borough did not have any regulations for gravel. The regulations were adopted in 2005. And then later on, there was additional regulations adopted for mining in the water table. That's a 4-foot separation. By default, you can get a permit, a very rigorous permit, to mine within the water table. However, the gravel pits that were already existing, that had plans and had made investments for mining in the water table, were grandfathered and allowed to continue to mining in the water table if they're to submit periodic water sample for water quality reports to us, which they have done. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but that gives you a little bit of context here.
Okay, Assemblyperson Nowers.
Yeah, first to, if there's a conflict of interest, I do own property on Canoe Lake, but I do not stand to gain anything from a hydrology study of the area financially. So a question was raised, I can declare it, but I have nothing to gain from a hydrology study looking at a bigger area.
Okay, so it would be, part of the study would include the area where you live, but it's not restricted to that area.
It's not.
Okay, all right.
And then, you know, as far as the history on this property, there is a really long history. So I'm happy to share this with anybody. This is a chronology of the documented problems and concerns that have been made about water levels in that area. It starts in 2004 with complaints about flooding. There's a $30,000 payment from Wilder Construction to a property owner across the highway for flooding out his septic and well. 2007, Joe Baelish, who was then special assistant to Sarah Palin, gets involved. DNR gets involved. The borough is involved in 2008 and 2009 with code compliance, investigating reports of water issues. The state permitted a spillway between 2 of the gravel pit ponds, and there was violations of the Alaska Water Use Act because of the amount of water being diverted across those. There was 2 inspections in 2013 and 2018. So a lot of history, and there has been a lot of studies, but there are a lot of various studies. So DNR at one point came out and shot levels in people's wells, but they did that for a year. If you go out to Canoe Lake, there's a spike in a tree that Roy Ireland, who was working for DNR, put out there. The gravel pits have done studies. Have done a study of the impact of their lake. The DNR has kind of looked at it, but their data is not in great shape. And then when the construction debris and asbestos stuff was proposed, there was also some studies back and forth just looking at that particular one. So there's kind of like pieces of studies, and a hydrologist as to like what this could do is a hydrologist could build on all that information and pull it together. And the one thing that has not been done is a dye test, which would be really interesting to kind of answer where is the water flowing, because as Alex mentioned, there's kind of lots of people who have said things or studies that have said things. The silt lens I know about because Don March, the president of Wilder, told me about it when lake levels originally went up on our lake. He said, yeah, we broke through it. It's called an aquitard. They have a dredge out there. So there's a lot of pieces of studies. And the gravel pits are a concern because they're in the groundwater. So that's the drinking water. So there's an extra layer of concern from residents about what that means for the water they're drinking. But that is not the end all of this. It's like the water levels are going up significantly and causing property loss. And given that history and the impacts that people are feeling, and the fact that there's this long history of documented complaints, this is just to take a little bit of a closer look at that and look at what could be done. Like, I think that's the responsible thing to do for a small amount of money, to look at this. And, a dye test would help answer that. But does that answer maybe some of the questions you're looking for?
Assemblyperson Sumner, is it he?
I forgot what I was going to ask. It's been so long since I raised my hand. I think Mr. Bowles had a question.
Assemblyperson McKee.
Yeah, Alex, when you were talking about these tests and where the folks were grandfathered in, and then it talked about testing for chemicals and stuff. If these folks are grandfathered in, and that apparently the chemicals aren't the problem, maybe not, but the water rising is, can you shut them down because they're there?
Through the mayor, so, and Nick might jump in if I get a little off the tracks here, but companies have, when we develop new regulations, companies have the right to continue to do what they're doing based on investment-backed expectations. The question is, I guess, if we're to determine that this is sort of posing a public safety issue or something like that, could we impose regulations in the future that affect the future of these pits? I would defer to Nick on that. But certainly as go ahead. Yeah.
Your question is shut them down?
I'm not
going to say that.
What?
But what Alex is saying is if you can show that what they're doing is injurious to public health, safety, general welfare, causing problems to other people, basically a nuisance, we can regulate it. How much? What does that look like? Does it mean shut them down? No, not necessarily. Could it? It may be, but there's a whole other wide range of regulations and things that could come in the middle, and this may or may not answer. This may or may not shed light on that.
Okay. Assemblyperson Bolt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I appreciate all that information. So I just wonder if it might be better to just go to DNR, and they have hydrologists on staff that that I know they drop down to lower levels, and you said there's been maybe some resistance in the past, or maybe not a firm commitment. But I wonder if, one hydrologist doing a study versus a division or multiple employees that, quite frankly, are already funded by our tax money. It might be a better resource, more resources available to them. And I don't know how that would work as far as if the manager would need to enter into like a memorandum of agreement or something like that. I don't know, but I'm kind of feeling like if this is 22 years ongoing, obviously there are long-time residents here that have been affected by this from the sounds of it. In my mind, I'm thinking about this from the perspective of property rights, right? So we want economic development, but we also want to protect private property rights. So it's kind of one of these, I guess a conundrum, right? Because if we don't know that the gravel mining is affecting this, then we don't want to get in the way of economic development. But if there's evidence of it, then we absolutely want to protect property rights. And so I'm just wondering if DNR might be the better way to go. And just have a partnership with the borough. I don't know if manager wants to chime in on that or not.
Assemblyperson Hours, go ahead.
I would, I would welcome DNR to piggyback on this, but I think the residents want to see something done now, not 5 years from now, and get started on it.
Assemblyperson Gamble.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I was going to say that, if we start asking DNR to do anything, who knows where in the queue we're going to end up. So piggybacking, I think, is a great idea. And from what it sounded like from testimony tonight, whatever's happening over there is accelerating. It's not steady state. It's getting worse, and it's getting worse fast. And so I think something needs to be done quickly. And I don't think 50,000 is a lot of money to spend to find out what the heck's going on over there. I do have a question, and I know, whatever comes out of this, it may even provide some legal remedies for the people over there at some point in the future. But I would like to ask the maker of this, what is your ultimate outcome? What are you looking for out of this study?
Just to help the people get some answers, what's going on, and then you go from there. You go from the answers.
Okay. Okay, sorry. Okay. I guess just, I don't have a question for you, but we probably will get back to you, sir. So as I'm sitting here reading the resolution, it's pretty open-ended because it says in the Palmer area, and that's pretty wide cut, I think. So I don't know how that should turn in. I guess maybe to Alex's question, has the borough ever done this type of study? We have millions of lakes in the borough, right? Have we ever had this study or ever a request for study like this?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Madam Mayor. So we have hired hydrologists to study, do small scale studies. When we have somebody that we suspect mined in the water table and they're claiming it's a seasonal puddle that is there, we hire hydrologists to determine, yes, indeed, they did breach and they went into the aquifer, but it's a very small study compared to what this would be, which is more of a regional scale.
Mm-hmm.
However, in this case, there's also a lot of studies that have already been done that could be built upon, as some member Nowers alluded to.
Okay, thank you. And I can't ask the audience, but I'm going to ask the assembly. Did the testimony from the one business and they said that the water has risen, I think in 224 or 226. When did we complete that highway project? Because looking at it just as a accountant, as an elected official, that seems like that would have a pretty good influence there. Yes, go ahead. Assembly Summer, jump in.
Oh, maybe this is a question for Tom. Was there any hydrology study done for the Glen Highway expansion when they reworked the Glen Highway starting? It was like 2 or 3 years ago they started doing that.
Good idea. Thank you, sir.
Tom Adams, Public Works Director, Assembly Member Sumner. I can't tell you for a fact that DOT conducted a hydrology or drainage study for the Glen Highway project, but I can tell you typically there is some consideration. Now, would it have gone into the detail for those particular lakes that you're discussing currently? It would be unlikely. You know, they'd be looking like, you know, the drainage along the side of the highway and where does it go? What does it affect when it goes downstream? What kind of volumes are included, but not necessarily looking at the hydrology of the lakes and the fluctuation in the lake levels.
Assembly Person Hours. Thanks, Tom.
I would just note the levels in the Kepler-Bradley Lake have been rising before they ever started that highway project. Certainly, again, that goes to the point of what is causing this and knowing the cause of it. And there was one other thing I was going to mention that we were talking about that you mentioned. Oh, as far as the area, the primary, 100 plus people signed a petition for this area, the lakes that have been mentioned, Kepler, Bradley, Echo, Canoe, and Irene, and then particularly, again, because the graveling is in the water table there, that is the primary area to look at. But if the hydrologist says, it needs to be bigger, I think we could look at that. But we have a financial constraint. This can't just grow without coming back to the assembly.
To me, I don't know. I don't know how expensive hydrologists are, but I do not know very many professionals you can get anything out of for $50,000. So that's
we can try.
Assembly, I don't know, follow for bulls.
A question to follow up to Alex. In operations like the SNG and all that, everything that's being done over there, how many different layers outside of Matsuburg oversee this kind of operation? I know there's probably MSHA, OSHA, some DC. I mean, if you had to guess, I mean, has to be several layers already on the state and possibly the federal layer that are currently have oversight over that, right?
Through the mayor.
Go ahead.
So yeah, you hit some of the ones that would regulate gravel pits. The ones that would potentially regulate the hydrology, the hydrologic impacts of mining in the water table are much fewer, though. I don't think MSHA oversees that. I think you're looking at the Office of Dam Safety, which my understanding is back in the early 2000s, they considered this repair that they did a regulated dam. So they certainly would have some oversight over this, potentially Fish and Game or DEC might also. But as far as hydrology, water quantity, not water quality, would very likely just be DNR.
Okay. So would it be appropriate for us as a body pass a resolution to several of these entities to have them, make it a priority, just voicing an opinion, because it sounds like it's a lot bigger task than just what we can do. And from my understanding, even if there is specifically that specific operations has a lot of grandfather rights, so even if we were to change some of the rules, they would affect the future permitting and the current permitted process operators, but not the grandfather ones. Is that correct?
Well, through the mayor. So what you decide to do, whether you decide to fund a hydrology project or communicate the desire for the state of Alaska to take a look at this thing, is going to be a decision that you all are going to have to make based on the information in front of you. So I can't make that decision for you, but that's certainly something that could be done to communicate with the state that you'd like some oversight.
Okay. Mayor asked a question, have, outside of the, on a bigger scale where there's a whole neighborhood and everything affected, has there been, requests, not just lakes, but the neighborhoods having some kind of issue where we funded that kind of, not necessarily hydrology, but a study that cost them ballpark the same, where we, we're funding it?
I mean, so earlier on the agenda, there was there was something about the Heart Lake Loop study, right? And that is really studying the hydrology and the drainage associated with a water body that goes through several neighborhoods. So it's not unprecedented that we would have, that we would expend borough funds to fund hydrology studies.
Okay. Can private citizens, if there's a, seems like a ongoing issue between the operator and, in the neighborhoods, the people that are affected, can they collectively self-fund something, come up together? I mean, if it looks like there's 104 people that signed petition, maybe more affected at the 30,000, so about $288. Is that, there's anything in the borough code that prevents them from doing that on their own?
Absolutely not.
Okay. If we were to do the study, I know in my district, there was a big concern on the Memory Lake, also rising some of the neighborhoods, and there's actually another Maryland street that this year was, or a circle that was dealt with. I know Miss McKee has dealt with an issue earlier in the spring about, I think, rising waters in Wasilla Commons Creek, I think it might have been the area. She will remember. Yeah, so I was actually gonna say if that's something we want to tackle together, perhaps that area that's affected with a similar kind of situation, I'd be open to adding those names into this resolution, so that looks and reaches more results for us. So,
Assemblyperson Bowles, do you have a question or comment?
Well, now I have two. So would that double the cost if we had another lake? So I know, I asked that mostly seriously. I probably think it would.
So I, through the mayor, I don't know how much we could get with $50,000 just to study this one little area. To me, it seems like it should probably be higher if we truly want to have a determination of cause and effect and potential solutions. But certainly adding other water bodies that are separated by tens of miles from this area would increase the cost and be probably a separate project.
Thank you. And second question is, and I think Member Fanoff was kind of asking, so ASG has grandfather rights. So let's say this was to pass, there was a study that was done, and they say, yeah, there's definitely an issue here. Could anything be done?
So I think Nick said yes, but it would require legislation.
Let's see who, Assemblyperson Sumner?
Oh, yeah. I think I was just going to mention that the DNR has the division of mine, land, and water, which this would probably fall under their purview. I think there was a question about that.
Assemblyperson Knowles?
I do think people are looking for some help now, and they've been at it for 20 plus years. So those other issues are serious, and I think we should take a look at them. But they like, this has been going on documented for 20 plus years. And I think I was trying to be fiscally responsible with the small amount of money, so we could try to, like, because of the amount of studies that are already out there, I think we can get a jump start. And if it was going to be, I didn't want it to be a open-ended, huge study. So part of it will be to go out, we approve this, it goes out, we see what we can get done for that amount. And if we can't, then we come back and take if it's a higher number, I would like to have the rest of the assembly on board. But I think the people today just want to see us take a step forward on this to getting some answers, because they're losing their property and they're wondering what's going on. So appreciate your support.
For some bowls and then.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I agree. I also agree with Member Sumner. I mean, DNR, I mean, that's a resource I think that's available to us already that exists. And I know that there's concern that it might take a while to get them moving on something, but, you know, maybe if we made some noise, you know, to the office that we need to make some noise to, we can potentially move this up. I don't know. I'm just thinking that might even be a better approach, right? Because they have more resources versus hiring just one person to do one study. If this really is a bigger issue and they go out there and they find out, wow, this is bad, then that's the most appropriate department to take this on, in my opinion, versus, I'm not saying that a study wouldn't accomplish anything, but at that point, what then do we do at the borough level with data? Do we just add it to the pile that you have? You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be facetious, but I mean, if DNR gets involved and there really is a serious issue, then it's DNR's involved. And they have the resources to really, they've got teeth as well. So I don't know. I guess that's.
Assemblyperson Fowler.
Actually, that makes a lot of sense. I think DNR actually has some, if they see something in violation, they can put a stop to it right away. They have way more resources than 30 or 50,000. I almost think like it might be more effective to changing this to resolution of almost like a petition on behalf of these 104 residents and those that are affected for DNR to really start. I do think they would have way more resources, way more power, what they can do in short amount of time if we make enough noise there. And likely if there is something that's being misused or not properly done over there, they could probably put a stop to it fairly quick, and that would have way more impact in a shorter amount of time. So I definitely would support if the sponsor would want to bring that as a resolution and put this one to rest. But I would like to ask, if possible, George Hayes on the flooding that was in my similar issue that people were actually, they're pumping water out of their homes. And I will want to confirm what the street name was, so I could, if we're going to pass this, I want to make the amendment to add a couple more things, because it's not a single area issue. And I think if we're going to address one section, I want to be able to also utilize this time to add some of the ones that are in my area that people reach out and have had difficult times with. So that's okay with, if maybe you can waiver, is it Maryland Circle? That was the one that we were dealing a couple months with. Yeah, okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to confirm.
So who can confirm that?
George did email Maryland Circle.
Already been answered.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. So, okay, okay. Okay, so Assemblyperson Hours?
Just wanted to ask the manager, if we asked you to, you could certainly reach out to DNR and ask for them to piggyback on this and be part of this.
Through the mayor, yes, we can always put a request into DNR to ask them to participate.
Okay. And I mean, I think it signals, it responds to the community that we want to get started on this, and it signals to DNR that we're serious about it too. So I think there's advantage to moving this forward after 20 plus years and seeing how much headway we can make.
Assemblyperson Fauna?
Yeah, I'd like to make an amendment to add rising of an issue that is similar in Memory Lake. There's been an ongoing issue there for the past couple of years that we've dealt with. And I think connection to that, also Maryland Circle in Wasilla as well.
Okay, they give the, okay.
Also in Wasilla.
Yeah, the clerk would want some further explanation, please. Assemblyperson Fanoff?
I need to know where you would like to place it in the resolution.
So in the beginning, after Greater Palmer area, and then after that, and
I'm sorry, I don't know where you're at.
on the very first page, first
Okay.
paragraph,
Perfect, thank you. Now I'm there.
and whatever proper language for Memory Lake.
Okay.
I don't know if we should put them in also after Canoe Lake, but we can just do it and then Maryland Circle, and that's connecting to, if I remember correctly. I'm looking it up right now, but Maryland Circle, George Case has exact address that were affected, but those are the two areas in my district that are having similar issues with the water rising.
I'm just making sure there's no list further down in the resolution. I'm sorry, everybody. Yes, I think we're good. Thank you.
Exactly, it's North Maryland, M-A-R.
North Maryland Circle, okay.
Yeah. And Miss McKee, I don't think that Wasilla Creek Commons, I think, was the area that you were also being, had the concerns about. I don't know if that's an ongoing issue and that's something you also want them to be able to look into this, but I would encourage, take this opportunity as well.
Well, I'm thinking the areas that you were talking about and the place that I went over and looked at the flooding because of the creek, they're so far away from this core area here, which is a bunch of little lakes in a fairly small area. And you're liable to find out, oh, gee whiz, this one is due to gravel, but this one is due to, I don't know, glaciation or something like that. I think it's too complete. I think you're looking at the difference between a dog and a moose. You know.
Okay, well, for my district, I'm gonna lobby on the people that are struggling with the crawl space full of water that didn't have it before several years ago. So I would like to get the support for that.
Assemblyperson Gamble.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with Assemblymember McKee. I think we need to focus on this area right now. And if Assemblymember Fonoff wants to do separate projects at a later date, I'd be more than happy to entertain that, but I'd like more information about those projects before we just start including them in this. This, we have a long history of information. We know that it's an accelerating problem and something needs to be done. And to Assemblymember Bowles and DNR, I mean, they have their projects mapped out years in advance. And so for us to kind of insert ourselves into their, their project list, I think is going to be a task. They're going to have to pull people off of other projects to get involved in this. So I think the idea of starting this on our own, getting a hold of DNR and getting them involved also is a great way to move forward. Thank you.
Assemblyperson Bowles, comment?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just completely understand where Assemblymember Fonoff's coming from. I'm wondering if in that area, I don't know, is it the same problem of there's a dredging going on that's causing very similar issues? And I also I absolutely agree with Assemblymember Gamble here that sometimes larger state entities do not move that quickly. I know that from experience. And so I do think that this resolution should focus on this, unless in some member Fonoff's area, there's the same type of thing going on. There's dredging. It's causing aquifer issues. It's causing septic issues. Then that makes sense. If not, then maybe a separate resolution, and I will absolutely support that. So.
Yeah, I want to answer. So there is a active gravel pit not far from Memory Lake. There was a few years in a row that we've had. There was a one time, I think, not this year, but the previous years, Tom Adams came out, the Bora Loop area. That's the whole thing. We're assuming right now dredging is the problem. There's no direct connection now. The study would show that. So in my case, there's also people that are being affected with the similar results, except they have to, from what we understand, there wasn't, and nobody actually's houses got flooded where they're pumping water out of a crawl spaces, where in my areas it's even worse. But I did not think of this as being as an option. We just ask Borough to fund us another study, see what's going on. But since this is an opportunity, I only feel it's fair that you would also same way support my desires to tag along to this, because if we're rising to asking DC to get involved in things like this would be a great time to have these areas to be looked at. And these ones are actually impacted where people had to be evacuated out of their homes. So I think it's actually more severe, to be honest. And if additional information needed, I mean, Mr. Hayes has been on the case helping people. Previous year, Mr. Tom Adams came with me over there. We really couldn't even walk into the driveway. That's how bad it was with one of the Memory Lake ones. So I think it's a pretty severe situation.
Assemblyperson Gamble.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think if we expand the scope of this project, it's going to be there's going to be less of a chance that DNR is going to get involved, because it's just going to make it so they need more personnel involved in this project. But like Assemblymember Bull said, if we get more information about what's going on over in Memory Lakes and the other circle, so we know what we're working with, I'd be more than happy to support a separate project with a study as well. But I think this one really needs to be narrow in focus, and we need to get on it right away so we can try and start figuring out why the waters are rising so fast. And I really like what Assemblymember Sumner said about the correlation of the road project and these lakes, all of a sudden, the acceleration of the rising water over there. And Tom, let me know if I'm wrong, but this was mostly federal highway money that did the Glen Highway upgrades, right? And so the state had to be coordinating, they had to be providing documentation and paperwork and studies to the feds on this project as well?
Yeah, so through the mayor, Mr. Gamble, that'd be correct. The Glen Highway upgrades are federal highway dollars, federal funding.
Right, so
So they follow that process.
Right, so so they would have had to follow federal highway guidelines on the construction of the road. And so if there was any studies or anything, I mean, all of that should be public information for a hydrologist to take a look at to see if it's not the gravel pit issue, or maybe it's both. Maybe it's the highway and the gravel pits, but something over there is causing an acceleration in the rise in the water, and we need to figure it out. Thank you.
The discussion is on the amendment. I don't know which one of you was first. Oh, you're, okay, Assemblyperson Sumner, then go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I've paid engineers before. $30,000 to $50,000 does not go really, really far when you are hiring a professional engineer to do a study like this. Sorry, Dimitri, I think that I see where you're coming from, and I would support an amendment or a different resolution to do a hydrology study for your areas, but splitting the baby here is not gonna get any effect for either area if we take the 50,000 and cut it in half, so to speak. So I think we should vote on the amendment.
Are you calling for the question?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, Assemblypersons Howard.
I just want to note one other thing is that there's different water regimes in the borough. So you can, if you're doing a study, you want to separate those. But I think we do have a dog and a moose, and I'd support the dog or the moose or whatever it is on a separate thing. But call the question, please.
So I think the question's been called. Is there objection to calling the question?
Primary amendment.
On the primary amendment? Okay, I don't see anybody objecting to calling the question.
Here, I'll reset you. There you go. If I can get the members in the room to go ahead and vote on the primary amendment, which was adding, Assemblymember Fanoff moved to add Memory Lake and North Maryland Circle. Madam Mayor, it failed with Assemblymember Fanoff and Bernier in favor.
Okay. So now we're back to the main motion, Assemblyperson Howard.
Can I call the question?
Is there objection to calling the question on the main motion? I don't see any. Is there objection to, yes, we have objection to the main motion.
If I can get the members in the room to go ahead and vote. Assemblymember Gamble, can I get you to press that button again? Thank you, sir. Madam Mayor, it passed with Assemblymember Fawnoff and Sumner opposed.
Okay.
I'm losing track of my initials here. Resolution 26043, a resolution opposing Senate Bill 238, and it was pulled by Assemblymember Bowles.
Okay. Assemblymember Bowles, would you like to move Resolution 26-043?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move Resolution 26-043, and I'd like to speak to that.
Okay, go ahead.
So I want to start off that I think this is an outstanding resolution. I think Assembly members Fawnoff and McKee, they're on it. So anybody that, if you're listening, if you're in the audience, if you have not read Senate Bill 238, I've read it multiple times. You know, some of the things you've heard this evening about that bill are not a good representation of that bill. What that bill aims to do, and my biggest concern is there is a carve out in that bill that if somebody is employed in a library and that person provides obscene material to a minor, and that parent finds out about it and wants to press charges or has an issue, that employee is protected under law. So that's my biggest concern, and I'll tell you why. I was previously an investigator for the state of Alaska. One of my first cases was a massage therapist, and this person got their license so that they could victimize women. And on top of that, they also got on with the Anchorage School District as a bus driver so that they could be around children. Predators target their victims, and they often do it by getting employed in areas where children are and their parents are not. So it is very, very important as legislators, and we're assembly members, but legislators in Juneau, to protect public safety and public health. This bill would be doing the opposite of that. So I very much support this. I think this is good work. The reason I pulled this is I feel like I need to change a little bit of language. So I move to amend Resolution 26-043 in the third whereas clause by striking the words representative democracy and insert in its place constitutional republic. To read, whereas in a constitutional republic, it is often bad public policy for dictates to be handed down by higher levels of government who are not in touch with local concerns. So this is just, unfortunately, oftentimes when speaking about our form of government, people refer to it as a democracy, and it just isn't. It's a common thing. It's a common mistake. It's become norm. We are a constitutional republic. I just want that language in there to just be accurate to the form of government that we have. Besides that, thank you very much, Assemblymember Fawnoff. Thank you very much, Assemblymember McKee. Great work, and I hope this passes.
Further discussion?
Primary amendment.
Okay, now the testimony is on the amendment.
Okay.
Assembly Person.
I had help of a professional because English is my second language. Mr. Nick wrote this thing, and I wanted to know if one or another makes more sense because I am okay either or. It doesn't change my position on the resolution meaning as a whole.
It does not. It's like substituting the word rain for precipitation.
Okay, discussion on the amendment? Okay. Any objection to the amendment? Okay, are you objecting to the amendment?
No objection. I'm going to go to the next subject after whichever we decide. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I don't see
Okay,
any
main motion?
objection.
Okay, on the main motion, now, I found out that although we got the letter in IM from the library board, they have not voted on it. So what I would like to instruct the clerk to pull the letter, because I guess it doesn't have a formal vote or signatures on it, from this IM. So we are just going to support the resolution itself without the attachment of the letter from library board. And I think they will make, they'll meet, they will go ahead and vote on it, and they can submit this letter on its own without us. So that's what I want to make. I don't know if there a former amendment, Lonnie, for that needs
I
to be done?
think what you just said was directing us to remove that letter.
Okay, I would like to direct you to remove that letter from IM.
Got it.
Okay. Any objection to the amendment? Okay, I don't see any objection. And so now we're back to the main motion. Any objection to passing the main motion? I don't see any objection, so Madam Clerk, it becomes legislation then. We have another one, do we?
Nope, that was it, Madam Mayor.
Okay. So, let's see. There is no unfinished business, there are no vetoes, and we're to new business. Madam Clerk.
Introduction for public hearing on May 19th is ordinance 2650, ordinance 2651, ordinance 2652, ordinance 2653, ordinance 2657, and ordinance 2658. And let me go back real quick. There was accompanying resolution 2638 to ordinance 2651, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Deputy Mayor?
Madam Mayor?
I move to introduce the legislation as read into the record by the clerk and set the public's hearing for May 19th, 2026.
Okay. Assemblyperson Ponoff, you have an objection?
I would like to divide the question 26058. This is going to be a pretty big issue coming up on that legislation. I'd like to have this after the budget is concluded, so sometimes in June would probably be ideal, because there's probably going to be a lot more preparations and outreach that would need to be done, because it is a pretty big legislation, considering that it's a has new tax implications to have. So I'd like to have more time to prepare some of the for that public hearing.
Okay, so there's a motion, first of all, to divide the question. Is there any objection to dividing the question? Okay, so there's no objection to dividing the question.
Now we're with everything else.
Yeah.
Except 2658.
So the motion by the deputy mayor then is to do the introductions and set the public hearing for the 19th of May for everything else. Is there objection to that? Okay, seeing and hearing no objection. And then I recognize Assemblyperson Ponoff for the ordinance 26-058. And so you wanted to move that ordinance and set the public hearing for when, sir?
I want to have about a month preparation for this. I think there's a lot more that needs to be prepared. I talked to some of the operators today. I think there is a gonna be this one we're gonna probably have to take not lightly if we really want to get it right. I think there's a lot of good things there. So so that we have a maybe discussion, maybe a maybe ask manager to have manager report from prepared possibly from Cheyenne, so we have some more information. So just for that reason, I want to have a little more time than just a couple weeks.
Madam Mayor.
Did he give us a date?
I'm assuming Assemblymember Ponoff would like June 16th, which is the last regular meeting in June.
Okay,
I would be good with that.
okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so now the motion before you is to set the public hearing for June 16th on ordinance 26-058. And I think Assemblyperson Bowles on this, did you have a question or comment?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like
think
to,
there's one over here. You didn't?
Oh, I did. I'd like to amend that.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's looking like our legislation is going to be going into special session. We don't know when it's going to happen, but from my understanding, it'll be at least a 30-day session, which will take up more than most likely May, June. So I think 60 days would probably be more appropriate so we can watch all of the tax bills that are happening and moving or not moving, just in case. I know the governor has a tax bill that's moving. There's two income tax bills that are moving. There's a property tax exemption bill that's moving. There's a lot going on that could affect this, and I think it would be best, in my opinion, to let the dust settle in Juneau and then talk taxes to include
What date then?
60 days. I would push this to 60 days out.
We need a date certain, and there's
One
only
date.
one assembly meeting in July, and that would be July 21st.
July 21st sounds good.
Okay.
Yep. They'll probably be
So-
done by then.
So now there's an amendment to change the public hearing till the 21st? Yeah. Assembly
I have a
Person.
question for the manager. Hey, Mike, if we push this past July 1st or past June 30th and it passes, can we implement it before like the following July 1st? I mean, is it going to have to be put off for a whole year to be implemented if we pass it after July 1st? Or can we change the date of implementation in the middle of a fiscal year?
Through the mayor, I don't see a issue with the implementation on this. I mean, when we look at the number of operators based on the way this threshold is written, it's not a large number.
Okay.
Okay, now Assembly Person Sumner or Deputy Mayor, I don't know, whoever, somebody. Okay.
I think the appropriate time to talk about new taxes is never, but barring that, I don't think we should protract the pain. So I would oppose both and say, let's just get this over with.
Okay, so you're, okay, Assembly Person McKee.
Yeah, I agree with Assemblymember Sumner, and I remember a few years ago when the gravel folks were appearing before us, and I asked them what their profit margin was, and they wouldn't tell me. I thought, they're making too much money. I think we need to hang on to some of it, so let's do this tomorrow.
Okay, so the Assembly Person Nowers, did you?
Well, since it's my ordinance, I should be able to get a little bit of a word in. I don't mind delaying it. I mean, this is, something we need to debate, but I'm also okay if the will of the body and the folks up here is to do it May 19th. So, yeah, and I think it's separate from I think it's kind of separate from, I don't think it's like Juneau isn't going to affect this. I think this is an issue that we've debated for years and that I won't get into it now, but I guess I'll support May 19th. I was going to go with June, but I'll stick with May.
Okay. Assembly Person Bowles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I just would like to remind the body that we are also discussing an ordinance to repeal area-wide property taxes and replace it with a sales tax at that same meeting. And there is one of the tax bills that's moving in Juneau would implement a 4% sales tax. So, and my intent is that if those bills haven't moved, to also delay that ordinance on the area-wide to make sure we have all information before we potentially bring any new tax on residents, because I am of the opinion we need to lower taxes, not increase taxes.
You changed my mind. I'd go with June. And then we can always delay if we need to again.
So the amendment is to July.
Secondary amendment is for July 21st, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so discussion on July 21st. Is there an objection? We do have objection.
If I can get the members in the room to vote on a July 21st public hearing date. Because you already voted. It already showed up if you vote. Here, there we go. If I can get everybody to vote again. Somebody abstained.
Can't abstain.
That was you. If I can get can I get you to go and plug that, please?
Yeah, they give you the one that's on the press.
If I can get the members to go ahead and vote on the July 21st date again.
Okay.
It failed unanimously without McKee. What is going on?
Can I just verbally vote no?
Sure.
Okay.
So it failed unanimously, Madam Mayor?
Okay, so now we have the primary amendment, right, which was
June
June
16th,
16th.
correct.
Okay, so now the motion is to have the public hearing on the 16th of June.
We're on the motion for public hearing on the 16th of June. Let's see what happens, Assemblymember McKee. Okay.
So it passes, except we don't know McKee's.
Because it will.
How do you vote, Assemblymember McKee? Mm-hmm. Okay. Passed with Assemblymember Bernier and Sumner opposed, and I'm going to be conducting voting a little differently since Assemblymember McKee's isn't working real well.
Okay. Alrighty, so now we're back to the
I don't know
main
what's going on.
motion as amended. So instead of the 19th of May, it will be the 16th of June. Is there objection to that motion? Yeah, Assemblyperson Sumner objects. So
If I can get the
Madam
members
Clerk,
in the room to go ahead and vote,
On what this time?
you're having to vote on 616 all over again. That's the main motion. Assemblymember McKee, if you could try again. Did you click it? Ah. Madam Mayor, it passed with Assemblymember Sumner opposed.
Okay. Should that take care of all of the introductions, madam, whenever you get back?
Madam Mayor?
Righty, our next item on the agenda is Assemblyperson Fauna.
Clarification. I got a confirmation that the library board did vote to support. They already did take the vote. So when would be appropriate for me to reconsider and to be able to add that thing? Can you explain that, Claire?
Madam Clerk?
I will discuss what we talked about with staff today over in community development, and if I miss something, Mr. Sparopoulos, if you can fill us in. From what I understand, what they voted on was they were opposed to the Senate bill, but they wanted to create a letter to send to the Assembly. So they didn't take action on that letter.
Okay, well, clarify with the board, but I'm saying the information that I got that they unanimously opposed that bill, so.
So here's the analogy that I'll draw to you. If this borough assembly unanimously directs the manager to say, bring me an ordinance to make area control, animal control an area-wide power, that doesn't mean you voted to make it area-wide. It means the manager has to come back and bring it to you, and then you vote on it. This letter says, this letter is to put on record that as officially installed board members of the library board did not approve this letter. They may have all said at the 14th, yes, we oppose it. But what this letter says, that purportedly is signed by 7 people, if they all approve this letter, they violated the Open Meetings Act because this did not happen at that meeting. We verified that with staff today. So at their next meeting, they could approve this letter, or they could wordsmith it, or they could do whatever they want. They have agreed to oppose the bill, but they have not agreed on this letter. So that's why this letter has to be taken out. We got that from staff today, who was present at the meeting.
All right, that's fine, Nick. You don't need to yell. I'm just,
I'm not,
yeah,
I'm just making sure.
I'm okay with it.
So
Whatever.
I know
I'm just
people,
afraid.
I know that members of the board are saying, we already voted on this, but what the letter says cannot be approved until the board votes on the letter.
All right, that's fine. No problem then.
So now we're to the point for the vacancy report. Deputy Mayor?
I move to approve the mayor's recommendation as follows. Plating Board, resignation of Amanda Solomon, Reginald Carney Jr. Big Lake RSA number 21, Nate Suing.
Okay. Is there discussion on the vacancy report? Any objection? Okay, hearing no objection, the vacancy report has been approved. There is no other new business. We did have a referral.
Yeah. Ordinance 26031, an ordinance amending MSB 1773 multifamily development design standards to align permitting and design standards with the scale and complexity of development projects.
Assemblyperson Sumner.
I move to refer ordinance 26-031 to the planning commission for 90 days.
Discussion by the assembly. Is there any objection? There are no objection. The legislation has been referred. We have, let's see, did the reconsideration get pulled? But it was defeated, right? Yeah.
For reconsideration is ordinance 26046, an ordinance amending MSB 3.28 to increase the property owner ballot threshold for contiguous local improvement districts from 54% to 75%.
Assemblyperson Fanoff, do you have a motion to reconsider?
I move to reconsider OR 26046.
Okay, would you like to speak to it?
I provided the letter that there's in front of you guys, and that's just a summary. I pulled a few things, just historically what it takes, percentage-wise, nationally, internationally, locally, and then just in order to which threshold you usually need to meet. When we went from one lower side to, okay, do we need a vote for the things first? So I'd like to open this discussion, please, so I can bring some of the supporting facts that I have so that we could make this correction if necessary for this ordinance. That's all.
Okay, so first of all, we need to vote on the reconsideration because we haven't done that yet.
Yeah, that's why I kind of stopped and
Yeah.
decided that I need to do it because before Lonnie comes
Discussion
here.
on the reconsideration motion. Emily Sumner?
Yeah, so, I mean, I was opposed to increasing the threshold because I think LIDs are an important process to add value to properties, add infrastructure. I did agree to co-sponsor this because I thought we were coming to a compromise at 67%. That's not how it ended up. It ended up at 75%. So I'd also like you guys to add a request that we reconsider this, if for nothing else, even if you all want to vote for it to be 75% again, please allow the reconsideration so that I can remove my name from a sponsorship of this ordinance.
Okay. Is there an objection to the reconsideration? You object? Yes.
I feel like we beat this horse up pretty good, and it's not going to get up again. I think we should I think we settled on a good number, so I'm going to oppose reconsideration.
Okay. So there was Assemblyperson Bowles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And so I'll address that as well. So the percentage, 67%, yes, I agree. We did. It was a compromise. During that meeting, there was some very good points made, and obviously the majority of the assembly agreed that 75% was more appropriate to protect personal property rights. I'll say two of the biggest things that were of concern was that the threshold, people that don't want this are forced into paying for something that they don't want.
Point of order.
Well, this is just for the reconsideration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Understood.
Okay,
So as far as the reconsideration, we agreed, yes, it was 67%. An amendment was made to 75%. Majority of the assembly voted for that. And so I would ask that those that voted in favor with that consider voting along that as well. Thank you.
Okay. So we have objection then to the reconsideration. Okay.
I can get the members in the room to vote on whether to reconsider ordinance 26046. Madam Mayor, it passed with Bulls and Nowers opposed.
Okay, so now then we're back to the main motion. So Assemblyperson Bowles, did you want to talk some more about the main motion then, since we cut you off from the primary?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is obviously a case of government infringement on people's personal property rights. Somebody, buys a piece of property 20 years ago, puts a house on it. They've got Toyo stoves, a wood burning stove. That's how they've been living. They don't want natural gas. Yet, let's say less than half, which is often what happens, less than half of their fellow neighbors decide they want LNG at the cost of everybody in the neighborhood. So these projects, obviously Yarrow Road is the one that sparked this for me, cost residents $8,500. So $8,500 is not a small amount of money. And it is correct that they could choose to pay that off with one lump sum. But if they don't, then they're forced into an unwanted loan with the government at a rate of 6+ prime, and prime I believe is 2%. So basically an 8%, 9% loan. For a retiree, it's a lot of extra money. So that's potentially $800 to $1,000 extra a month on a loan. I may be off on that. I don't know. Finance director is here. There have been cases where people have had to go through the foreclosure process. Yes, the borough has not foreclosed on many pieces of property because of this. But even going through that process is an infringement on somebody that doesn't want this. My opinion, if you want LNG brought to your home, that's great. Get with your neighbors and enter into a non-contiguous agreement. Instead of a contiguous agreement. I think this is a fair compromise for a contiguous agreement that forces property owners who don't want this to have to pay for something at the strong arm of the government with the threat of possibly losing their property. And I am fundamentally against that. I'm not against growth. I'm not against economic development. I want that very clear. What I'm against is the government strong-arming any property owner into purchasing something at a percentage rate that they don't want, they don't need.
Okay. Assemblyperson Sumner?
Yeah, Mr. Bowles and I agree on quite a few things. This is one of the things that we don't agree on. But, I think we both agree that it's a matter of personal property rights. To me, if we don't have a free market for regulated utilities or roads. If I wanted to go purchase natural gas, I cannot just go pay to get a pipeline put into my house. I must purchase it from the regulated utility. If I want to put a power line in my house, I must purchase it from a regulated utility. And once I pay for that power line or that gas line or that paving project, anyone else can use it without paying me a dime. And that's the fundamental disconnect that I see, is that there is no protection for the people that are fronting the large amount of money for these gas lines, power lines, roads, without the LID process, where you can get the entire neighborhood who all benefits and all has increased property values to all buy in and pay for the benefit that they're enjoying. I think it's a fundamental conservative principle that people that benefit from the government services pay for those government services, and that we don't subsidize other people. And having an incredibly high LID threshold or shutting down LIDs, which effectively 75% would do, effectively makes it so that you must share. If you pay for gas, if you pay for power, if you pay for a paved road, then you must share it with your neighbors, even if they don't contribute. And I'm opposed to that. I would also like to make an amendment to remove my name from the sponsorship of this ordinance.
Okay. So we have to vote?
Yeah.
Okay. So there has been a motion made to remove his sponsorship from this ordinance. Discussion or?
Mr. Sumner, if we vote this to acceptable range, would you then after that consider adding your name back on it?
You know, I made a compromise with the other sponsor to get this to 67%. That agreement was broken. No hard feelings. I would have done the same if I was in your shoes, because you advocated for what you felt was right for your constituents, but I did not agree to raise the threshold at all. So I just don't want my name on the sponsor, on the ordinance.
I'll support you with this decision, but if I'll do another amendment after that, I hope you consider adding your name on again if it connects with threshold where you agree with.
Okay. So is there objection from removing? No, I do not see any objection from removing his sponsorship. Now we're, Assemblyperson Fana?
Okay, now I'd like to make an amendment for it to be at 60% threshold. And the reason for that is the more I look at it, in most areas, as more I study, LIDs that are done is usually takes 50% to initiate, and after it's initiated, most commonly the factor is being used of 60% with protest vote, meaning they're against it. So actually, after something's initiated nationwide, it's very common then to for people that would be opposing it to have to reach actually 60%, which in default only puts 40% of the people need to continue, 41% of people need to continue to support. So with that said, the more I see it, I think it's almost impossible out of 10 people to get 8 people to agree on something, even 7 people, but 6 people is a pretty good balance. I talked to Cheyenne earlier to say there was only several big LIDs we had where there was over 100 people that were affected, but majority of them are under 25 or less, which is really difficult to get to that threshold. Another big issue I have with making this threshold so high, it's people, there's always a couple of people that are motivated to get the utilities to their properties, and people around it knowing that only after 2 years pass by, they can tap in for free without paying a cent. But the person who ran that does not get reimbursed, which is a very unfair process. If it was 5 to 10 years of the requirement before, and they would still have to pay to tap, I would be okay with a higher threshold. But because of freeloaders to be able to take advantage, and I know personally people that brought, and today we heard in testimony that they paid substantial amount of money, and then as soon as the 2-year mark passed by, they took advantage, which I believe is a big, it's not very fair to those people who paid full price for the utility. So that's the reason I would like for us to compromise and come to, which is higher than 54% that we originally had, but 60% is a good balance.
Okay, the motion is an amendment to go to 60%. Discussion? Yes, go ahead.
I really love horses. I don't like to flog horses. I think we've said everything that we can say on this. I think 75% was a good compromise with the unreturned ballots not being counted. And I understand what is being said. I also understand making somebody pay for something they didn't want and won't use is a real downside too. So I think we have a good number. We should stick with it.
Okay. Okay, Assemblyperson Bowles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And so to address this 8 out of 10, I understand what you're trying to say, and you're trying to sell the 60%, and I can appreciate that. I'm trying to sell the higher number to protect residents, protect property rights. But the reality is, if there are 10 pieces of property in a row at 75%, if only 6 people return their ballots, 4 ballots already don't count. And so they would need 5 out of those 6 to be in the affirmative. That's 50%. That's 50% of the property owners. So that's how this works. Now, if we were to say no votes or unreturned ballots count as no votes, absolutely, I get that. But the reality is, these are going in places where a lot of people don't return their ballots, and so the 75% really it's not that much more higher of a threshold in reality, because through this process, questions I've asked, it's my understanding that I don't know if there's ever been an LID where all of the ballots were returned. So I think that's a fair consideration.
Assemblyperson Sumner?
I call a question.
Okay. Is there objection to calling the question? You object? Okay. Okay.
If I can get the members in the room to calling the question on the primary amendment.
So calling the question is, we'll stop the,
Stop.
yes, we'll stop the debate? For
If you
her to
vote
speak,
yes,
what do we
you-
need to do?
If you vote yes, it will stop debate on the primary amendment.
If no, she'll be able to talk. Okay.
Madam Mayor, it passed with this, it failed with Assemblymember Gamble and Nowers in support.
Okay. Further discussion on the amendment to change it to 60%. Assemblyperson Pono.
The argument that about unreturned ballots being counted certain way, that's like, why don't, would you like it if the unreturned balance by default would have voted yes? That sounds like what it was, the system was before. So we cannot count. I think everybody should take this seriously. They get through certified mail. So us accounting that non-returned ballots will be like certain thing. That's people, if they don't vote, I'm sorry, they're out. They don't need to, their vote doesn't count, whether they decided to not take it seriously or they just ignorant about it. As far as some of the testimony that we heard, we asked Cheyenne earlier today, she said we have people that come and say, oh, we didn't get mail or we weren't informed. And she says her assistant's sitting there with the signature thing from the certified mail that they actually received that ballot. So let's be honest about it. We take this seriously. It goes through certified mail. People have, so the argument about non-returned votes, I think that's not what we're discussing right now. We're strictly talking about percentage, and I think everybody should take their ballot seriously. And in reality, 6 out of 10 is a good compromise and good balance.
Okay. Assemblyperson Bowles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I think you may have misunderstood. I mean, I was explaining it as though unreturned balance didn't count. So in an instance where you have 10 properties in a row, if only 6 ballots are returned, that's the only ballots that are being counted. So if 4 of those are in the affirmative, those 4, or let's say 5 out of 6 are in the affirmative, then that's technically 50% of the property owners in that 10 house line. So in reality, 50% of the landowners, property owners, are the ones that are deciding that LID based on those unreturned ballots. And I agree. If somebody decides not to return a ballot, that's on them. They had an opportunity to return the ballot, and if they failed to do so, they failed to do so. But the reality is that 75% doesn't mean it takes 8 out of 10 property owners to pass an LID. That's just not accurate. It's based off returned ballots only. So that needs to be clear.
No, I think you're misunderstanding. That's exactly what it means. If 10 people are affected, 10 people get to vote. The ignorant ones or the ones that ignore should not be even taken into account if they choose not to. It is 8 out of 10 as it currently says. It is impossible to get 8 out of 10 to agree on something. So no, we're not discussing that. So we can't hypothetically say that only this many people will vote, so therefore this many people decide. No, I think 10 all people should be voting, and if then they choose out of that people, 6 people agree, then great, and if not, then not.
Okay. Deputy Mayor and then McKee.
Okay. So if there's 10 people and only 2 people return their ballots and they both vote yes, that's 100%. Okay? Right? But I'd like to offer an amendment for 67%.
Okay, there's an amendment on the floor for 57%.
67.
Oh, 67. Okay. Well, I really hit it low there, didn't I? Yeah.
I just
Okay.
think at some point you have to say, where are the votes? The votes aren't there for 75, apparently. They're not there for 60. I'm thinking, if it were up to me personally, let me do what I want on my own property, but that's not how the world lives. But if you went to 67, and I know I've discussed this, the only other person I talked to was Dimitri, but if we can't get 60, and you got 75, maybe the winner is 67.
Further discussion on 67. Assemblyperson Sumner?
I call the question.
Yes. Is there objection to calling the question?
Yes.
Okay. Assemblyperson Nowers?
We can vote on calling the question, please. Madam Mayor, it passed with Assemblymember Nowers opposed.
Okay, so now
Now we've got to vote directly on the 67%.
the
there
motion
objection?
67% now.
Can't talk anymore.
We can't, no discussion.
Madam Mayor, the 67% passed with Assemblymember Fonoff, Gamble, and Nowers opposed. We're on the primary amendment that has changed to 67%.
Okay. Assemblyperson Sumner?
I call the question.
Let me get this vote real quick.
Okay. We're gonna
Moving too
give the
fast for me.
Clerk a minute here to get this stuff done. Yeah, okay.
And
And
MS
we
called
do have,
question.
right, and we do have an objection to calling the question.
If I can, we are actually at the primary amendment as amended at 67%, and the question's been called, and what we're voting on is the call of the question. If I can get the members to go ahead and vote on that.
So if you don't want to debate, say yes. And if you want to debate, say no.
Madam Mayor, it has failed with Assemblymember Bernier, Sumner, and Bowles in support. So we are at the primary amendment at 67%, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Assemblyperson Fonoff?
Okay. I do think there is enough support in this body at the 60%. Do I undo the last amendment, or do I move a new amendment to make it to the 60 right now? Question to Lonnie.
I would have to refer to the mayor since that motion was already changed. Are you going to?
It was changed under secondary.
So the motion for this,
No, what I'm asking, the assembly has already voted down 60% and changed
Right.
it to 67.
Right.
Assemblymember Fonoff now wants to strike 67 and insert 60.
Point of
that-
order.
To me, that's already been decided.
Okay, so 60 is not an
Yes.
option? Is that what you're saying? Okay, I'll make an amendment to make it 61%.
People. Okay, so now the amendment is to go to 61. Assembly Nowers or Sumner?
Just want to remember that the worst case scenario is people being forced to pay and not being able to afford it, and the government forcing them to pay for a service. So we really need the higher level. I'm going to make a secondary amendment of 70%. 70%, the unreturned ballots are not counted. I think we can do that.
Okay. All right. You had your hand, Assemblyperson Sumner, you had your hand up before she made the secondary
just-
amendment. Did you want to talk?
I was going to call the question, but what's the point? We'll just keep throwing out numbers. Apparently,
Okay, Assemblyperson McKee.
Yeah, I had discussed this with people outside of this body.
Oh.
And their assessment of it was that if we did it at 75, we would kill the LID thing. And I've said, personally, for me, that's fine. But I can't vote that way because I think that there would be too many other people that should have a choice. And so, but I can't do the 75. 60, 61, that's still killing the movement. I can't go with that because I don't think the votes are here. When I play poker, I want to know that the hand I got is pretty safe. And sometimes it's not the hand I want, but I'll play the hand that I think's got the best chance to win.
I want to clarify that we are, Madam Mayor, that we're on a secondary amendment now that struck 61 and inserted 70.
Right. Assemblyperson Bowles is who you have there, and then we'll do Fonoff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and my apologies. I'd like a tertiary amendment of 67%. And I
Point of
call for
order.
the question. No?
We're
Madam
at
Mayor, secondary
70.
amendment as far as you can go.
Okay, so I will obviously pull that back, and I will say I'm okay with 67%. That was the original compromise. Assemblymember Sumner and I discussed this, and yes, at that meeting, my goal is to work for my fellow residents in District 1, and they wanted a higher number. And I really was trying hard to get that higher number for residents in District 1, but I still consider 67% a success, and I am absolutely willing to compromise back down to that. 61% is,
We're at 70. We're at 70.
I understand. If it gets amended again, I am willing to go back down to 67% as the original ordinance. Was not trying to create this much work for us. I thought it was good, and I just want to, so we're not here all night going back and forth like ping pong. So, thank you.
Okay, so the amendment before us is at 70%. Assembly Sumner.
I call the question.
Okay. Is there objection to calling the question? Okay, I don't see any objection to calling the question, then will you please vote on this amendment for 70%?
Madam Mayor, it failed with Assemblymember Bowles and Nowers in support, and now we're at 61%. It's
And now
striking 61 and
No,
inserting.
that's on the call of the question.
Oh. It was on the secondary. There was no objection.
Oh, okay. You're
So
right. Yep.
the secondary amendment failed with Bowles and Nowers in support, and now we're on the primary, which is at 61, striking
Percent.
67.
And I call the question now.
Okay. So the question's been called. Do we have objection to calling the question on the
I object.
61%?
I can get the members in the room. Oh, let me reset it. You guys want to vote again, don't you?
On the
I
question or
reset.
no?
We're on the calling of the question that you
Question.
just called for. If I can get the
Calling on the
members to vote,
question,
please.
not on the percentage.
Madam Mayor, it has failed with Assemblymember Bowles and Nowers in support. It takes 5 votes. It is 5 votes, Madam Mayor. It passed with Assemblymember
Okay,
Bowles
so
and
now we're
Nowers
back on the
opposed.
amendment at 61%.
I think
Okay.
there's too much discussion happening, Madam Mayor. I can't keep track.
Okay. Assemblyperson Bowles.
Thank you,
No,
Madam
we call the
Mayor.
question.
I move to amend the percentage rate to 67%.
We call the question. You
Madam
can't do
Mayor,
that. Point of
the-
order.
it passed, the question passed. So now we need to vote on the 61%. So there's no more amendments. It
Okay.
passed. No.
No. The question is on
We're voting on
61.
Madam Mayor, can I describe what's happening and what they're
Sure.
voting on, please?
Yes, please do.
What's on the floor right now is striking 67% and inserting 61. That's what the primary amendment, that's what the members are voting on right now. If I can get the members in the room to vote on that primary amendment. Madam Mayor, it failed with Assemblymember Fawnoff, Assemblymember Sumner, and Assemblymember Gamble opposed. And right now, we are back to the primary, the amendment that's 67%.
I call
that
the
passed
question.
previously.
Okay. So is there objection?
Mayor, that it's on the main motion. We're on the main motion right now.
Right.
That got changed to 60.
But,
Miss Mc-
but I can
okay.
ask for no objection. If there's no objection, then it becomes a law.
I want
Correct. I just want to make
discussion
sure
right
that
now.
everybody knows what we're voting on. We're voting
Okay.
on the main motion at this point.
Okay.
And I called the question.
Okay, so the
Miss-
question's been called. Objection to the
Hold on.
question being called. We have any objection? No? Oh, we do have an objection, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I can get the members in the room calling on the question, vote calling on the question.
Yes, I want to talk to you, Miss Mickey.
Madam Mayor, this time it did fail with Assemblymember Fawnoff, Assemblymember Sumner, and Gamble opposed.
Okay?
Okay,
So now we're to
discussion.
the discussion. on
Okay.
s-
To
60.
those who are on the fence, I want to say at 61%, at 10 out of 10 people, it will require 7 people. So we are right there at that remark. So, because 6 out of 10 people will not be enough to meet the threshold of 60%, of 61%. It will require more. So this might come handy when we get. So I do want you to consider that number, because it is it's not 6 out of 10. So that's close to supermajority.
So did he go back to 60%? Is that what you were saying?
No, I was.
Okay. So we're at,
We didn't make an amendment.
Okay.
All he was doing was saying.
he was talking.
I'm saying the difference between 60 and 61 is significant enough that I would like Ms. McKee to consider supporting me in this, because that
He's
is
gonna get there.
that is enough change out there. It is very difficult to get 8 out of 10 people to agree. So I will make a motion at 62%. Then that's the highest I can want to support this thing.
Okay, so now you have an amendment for 62%. Well, okay, Assemblyperson Bowles, discussion on the 62%.
Yes, Madam Mayor. So, so I moved to amend 62 to 67%, and the reason is,
Point of
I'll
order.
give-
That would be that would be no difference than the vote.
You have to vote it down.
Okay, I rescind my motion. So at 62%, you got 10 properties in a line. All right, 6 ballots returned. If 3 of those ballots are yes, 3 of those ballots are no, and does it fail, or is it rounded down? So even if it does pass, let's say 4 of those are yes votes and 2 of those are no, you still have 4 property owners out of 10 that are deciding for the other 6 people that they are okay with the government forcing them into purchasing something they don't want. So 67, 75, I mean, obviously I want the higher number, but 67 at least increases that threshold slightly. I think 67 is fair. We keep going lower and lower and lower. And so I do have to wonder why there is such an effort to keep the number low. I do. So, to me, it seems like as a conservative body, we want to protect personal property rights, and we want property owners to have a say what happens on their property. So I just don't understand the push to lower the number to allow this to happen. I just don't. And I'm going to say that on the record. I don't understand the push to infringe upon people's personal property rights and to force them into an agreement and a contract with the government that they don't want.
No, that's not the thing. When we started, it was
Yeah.
54%. That's the difference.
Yeah, no, I was going to recognize Assemblyperson Gamble.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I see that Alex has already left, so I guess, Nick, maybe you can answer this for me. We have a process for property owners to opt out of the LID, right? And that's by petitioning for a non-contiguous LID. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
To a point.
Okay.
I mean,
so can you explain to me the process for somebody that is potentially, being sucked into this LID against their will, but they don't want to be? I mean, how do they petition for it to become a non-contiguous LID, and then they can just wait 2 years and get in for free? So how does that work?
they would have to convince this assembly to vote it down. Because what happens is when the proposal comes forward and the petition comes forward, it requires 50% of the owners who own the property and of assessed value and 50% of the owners that will bear the cost to come to the finance department, present a petition. If that petition gets approved, then it comes to you for the creation of the LID. The ballots go out. Then the threshold of voting is what's going to be here. That's what you're talking about tonight. Yeah, it doesn't go to them first. It goes out. The petition ballots that go out, when they come back and you say 67%, if you're one of the 30% of people who don't want to be there, they show up at this podium and say, don't do this to me, don't do this to me, don't do this to me. the assembly would have to vote it down for it not to happen. And then the people could either start over or do a non-contiguous. You could amend an LID, the assembly could. You'd have to start the entire process all over. Functionally, at the staff level, if you sat here and said, well, these people don't want to be in it, let's amend this and carve these lots out, you would just functionally restart the process.
Or couldn't they do that from the initial outset of it?
Yes.
Yeah, so they could. If the neighbors come to you and say, you know, I really don't want to be part of this LID, you know, can you just skip my property? Then that could be part of the initial LID. They don't automatically get sucked into it if they don't want to be. I mean, there is a method for them to opt out from the very get-go.
Only if the sponsors agree.
Right, exactly.
So if, for example, everyone here was forming an LID and Miss McKee didn't want to be in it, and we all voted yes.
Yes, but also during that process, when it came to the assembly, she comes forward and says, look, I went in front of these people and said, I can't afford it. I don't want to be part of it. You know, please don't make me be part of this. I mean, we would be irresponsible not to consider that during the deliberations. So, thank you.
Assemblyperson Sumner.
Yeah, I was just going to point out that in my experience, it's not when the LID is formed that people object. They're okay with that. When we have objections is when the bills comes due and when it's assessed to their property. That's when people come and object. So,
Mr. Attorney?
And if I can just add, at that point, it's too late. Yeah. Because once you vote to form the LID, when you confirm the role and then actually impose the amount, it's too late, because when it's confirmed first before the construction happens, we've already incurred the costs. It's almost a ministerial act that you can't exclude someone after the construction is done, because all the people who voted on the projected price, plus or minus, in terms of what the LID would cost.
So, Assemblyperson Sumner, you have a follow-up?
yeah, I was just going to say, I guess my point is there's multiple off-ramps during the LID process when people are informed that an LID is being formed, where they could stop or opt out or come to the assembly and object to the LID being formed. You know, the objections that we typically hear are when it comes time to pay the piper, and that's when they don't like it.
Assemblyperson Mallett?
I think it comes back to what Mr. Bowles said on conservative principles, that there's no other setup where we are forcing a resident to take a private business service and pay for it. And Mr. Bowles is right. As soon as you don't count the unreturned ballots, you drop that percentage precipitously. I mean, if the 7 of us wanted to form a LID, you get 4 of us on board, that's 50%. And then the 3 who didn't want to be part of it don't return their ballots because they're like, I didn't want any part of this. Then the 4 of us, all you need is 3, right, to approve it. So 3 for 7. I don't think that would sit well. So I think we had 67%, and that's where we were headed. I'm not happy with it. I think it should be 75, but at this point, it's better than the alternative.
Okay, for the Assemblyperson McKee, do you have your light on?
I do.
Okay.
Again, the gambling thing, you don't want to lose everything if you don't have the right cards. You don't bet on those cards. And that's where we are, I think, that's between the 60 or the 61 versus the 67. If you want the 60 or the 61, I think you're going to lose that hound. So to me, it's a compromise that says, we got the votes. I'm only in for that reason, because as you know, with me, I wouldn't even have LIDs, but go ahead.
Assemblyperson Fowler.
My last thing is that people, when they can't meet the threshold, they'll pay for it. People wait 2 years, and then they tap in. That is unfair to those people who paid bulk majority amount of money, and I think that is flawed there. I'm more than happy to sponsor or co-sponsor whatever resolution we can do to ask I don't know which governing body requires that. If it was 5 and 10 years, that would be different. But because it's only 2 years, that is people would take advantage knowing there are certain people that really want it and let them pay for it, and then we'll just tap in. for that reason, I think the threshold should be lower so that more of these can be done and it will be more spread fairly amongst the people that are going to be benefiting from it, not just those that are awaited 2 years and 1 day.
Okay, Assemblyperson Bowles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So fair and right are not always the same thing. Okay, fair. So if somebody doesn't want something and then in 2 years they decide, well, fine, I'll do it. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about doing the right thing and protecting residents' rights, their rights to their own property, their right to not be infringed upon by the government, their right not to be forced into a contract that they didn't want. That's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about fair. The fair, honestly, has been debated as if it's really a true concept. What's fair? Fairness is such a subjective thing to discuss. Everybody has a different perspective of what's fair. The right thing here is to protect residents. And as a conservative body, I will say it again, we should be protecting property rights. We should be protecting residents. And that's where I stand on this. And I'll ask that we at least settle on 67. That's fine. It still accomplishes the goal. Thank you.
Assemblyperson Campbell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I agree with you. We should be protecting property rights. I think should be protecting the majority's property rights. And so if we're only protecting 4 out of 6 of the property owners, or 4 out of 10 of the property owners, then their rights are being denied. I personally don't think we should be in the LID business at all. I don't think we should be paying Instar to sell gas and make money off of us, but that's a separate subject. I think since we are in the LID business right now, that we do need to protect property rights on both sides, and the majority of property owners that want the LID should be able to get the LID. Those who don't should be able to ask that it be non-contiguous and their properties be excluded from the original LID. And I agree with you, Assemblymember Fonoff, or maybe it was you, that we need to change that from 2 years to 5 or 10 years before they can hook up for free, because I don't think that is fair, for lack of a better word. But right now, I think we do need to protect the property rights of the majority. Thank you.
But if it's not us that makes that rule, we can't change that rule. So we can't affect that decision at all. The only thing we can do right now is, I said before, keep the Hatfields and McCoys. We don't want to go through that again. So you got to make it a little bit, somebody's got to have a better gun, if you will. I think this is as close as you're going to get. Pardon my violent language.
That's 60%. 2%. Okay, Assemblyperson Gamble.
Yeah, I just have a question for Nick. If we did change it to 62%, can we go back and change the hookup time period to 5 or 10 years? It's set in state statute.
That hookup time period is set by the Regulatory Commission of Alaska as
Okay.
part of NSTAR's.
So we'd have to petition the Regulatory Commission of Alaska to change it then.
To open the tariff of NSTAR.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. We could look into it. I have a legal intern coming soon. We can
Okay.
task
All right.
somebody with.
Thank you.
But we have to. Yeah.
Thank you for showing, because that makes logical sense for what you said. Majority decided to go, and then the other ones are freebies. So anyways, let's vote on this. I'm not gonna continue changing numbers. I will ask you for the support, and we'll see where that goes. But I do think that's a fair number.
Yeah, and we had 2 people ahead of you, sir, so appreciate it if you'd wait to get noticed. So Deputy Mayor.
I think like 5 or 6 years ago, I suggested when this first came across and I seen the unfairness, that the borough reach out to NSTAR and actually have a sit down with them and discuss this as far as trying to get that changed.
Well, we need to stay on the amendment, which is the 62. Okay. And then let's see, Assemblyperson Bowles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just finish up with, 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we voted on 75%. The majority agreed on that. Not sure what changed in 2 weeks. Not a whole lot. And we've been talking about budget. I don't know, maybe something in the budget sparked it. Maybe
We're at 62%.
So I would ask that those that voted for the 75 2 weeks ago, please consider staying in track with that at least, and vote down to 62%, and let's pass 67%. And I call for the question.
Is there objection for the 62%?
Yes.
We do have an objection.
Madam Mayor, or members of the assembly, can I get you to vote on changing it to 62%? Madam Mayor, it failed with Assembly Member Fonoff, Assembly Member Sumner, and Gamble, and support. Sorry. It's not even 10.
Gamble and.
And now we're back to the main motion as amended, Madam Mayor.
Now you're back to the main motion. Is there, yes, Assemblyperson Sumner.
I just had a question. If this failed, then it would revert to 54%, right? I'm opposed.
That's a Jesse.
No, just a minute, just a minute.
It was reconsidered.
We passed the
Go back to
reconsideration.
54.
Yeah. Okay, objection to the, yes. So
Oh,
we have
objection for
objection.
what? Okay.
Uh-huh. Okay, so we have objection.
If I can get the members to vote on the main motion, which is? Yes.
So if 67 passes, can we reconsider the reconsideration?
No.
67 is already passed. That amendment passed.
Okay.
So right now, the legislation's at 67%.
Okay, so
You're
if it-
acting like this is, once this main motion, if it passes or fails, it would still be open for reconsideration.
Thank you.
Okay.
What are we voting?
Motion, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
If I can get the members in the room to vote on the main motion, please.
Which is what now?
Adopting the legislation at 67%. Madam Mayor, it passed with Assembly members Fonoff, Sumner, and Gamble opposed.
Okay. Alrighty, so now we are to parting comments, I guess. Okay, parting comments, Mr. Attorney.
I would like to give my sincere thanks to former Speaker of the Alaska House Grusendorf, President of the Senate Kotula, and Governor Bill Sheffield for signing the 1985 revision of the Alaska state statutes, which makes the clerk the parliamentarian and not the attorney. That's all I have.
Assemblyperson McKee, parting comments?
Yeah, you gotta know when to hold them and know when to fold them, and that's how I roll. So
Deputy Mayor, parting comments?
Thank you, Lord, for springtime, the newness, renewing the earth, renewing our faith in you, Lord. Thank you for your mercy and your grace. Please bless our veterans, our first responders. Please help those that are in need of you, Lord. We all are in need of you. But help those that are addicted and broken. Please bless the Matsu, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Assemblyperson Sumner, parting comments?
I'm sure all you guys have seen my amendment that has been sent out to for school funding. So, as I said before, I hope that we don't leave these folks hanging that are not sure where their kids are going to school next year, or whether they're going to have jobs in what building next year. And let's, deliberate on the school funding first thing. Let's vote on it. Let's put it to bed. Let's not drag it out like LIDs.
You sure it's not going to be and 50 cents or something? No, or somebody's going to make it 50 cents and then somebody else is going to say, no, it should be 75 cents or something. Assemblyperson Bowers.
Wanted to just say thanks to the manager, in addition to the other folks, what they said. I think you show amazing grace under fire, and there's been a lot of fires, some internal and some external. So thank you for your work, and wanted to just say that to you, record. I've said it before, I do think we should give the community another chance on the schools. So I'll be looking for an amendment to be able to do that, at least on Larson and Meadow Lakes. And Mr. Bowles, the safety corridor, that is very much needed for that Glen Highway, the old Glen. So I'll absolutely look forward to supporting you on that. And thank you.
Parting comments, Madam Clerk?
I apologize. Earlier tonight, I meant to tell you that Estelle and I are going to be attending the International Institute of Municipal Clerks, 518 to 522. We don't generally go to this very often. We do maybe once every 5 years. I would like Estelle to get her CMC sooner rather than later. So that we will be out that week. However, the next meeting you will have Brenda and Jamie. And then the following 525 through 529, I will be out. So I'm going to be out for a total of 2 weeks.
Assemblyperson Bowles, parting comments?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I just want to talk on the tax ordinance that I introduced already, 26-032, that aims to repeal area-wide property tax and replace it with a sales tax. I do have some concerns with what's going on down in Juneau as far as these bills. I'm watching them, paying attention very close to see what makes it, what doesn't make it. It looks like we're probably going to see our legislators go into special session. I don't know if I can do it tonight, but I almost feel like I need to postpone that a little further in line with the other tax ordinance so that we can discuss them after the session really does sin die. I don't know if we can tonight. If not, then I intend at the May 19th meeting to just, if we can discuss, but not vote on it, because it's very, very important we get this right. The intent of that ordinance is to lower taxes. It is to lower taxes for property owners and borough residents and spread that tax burden across everybody that spends money in the borough. And I will not do anything that will raise taxes. I will not vote on anything that raises taxes. That's just not something I'm willing to do. This really is an attempt to lower the tax burden for fellow residents. And so I just I don't know if I can do that now and move to postpone that to later.
Madam Mayor, I would say that you could make a motion to reschedule the public hearing to a different date. We do have to get it out of the newspaper because it's due to publish on Friday, but we have time tomorrow to do that.
I would be more comfortable doing that because we don't know what's happening in Juneau yet. If this income tax passes, if this 4% sales tax passes, I mean, then it really would be detrimental to our fellow residents, and I'm not willing to do that. If none of this tax stuff passes down in Juneau, I think this could be a very good thing for our borough. So I moved to excuse me. I'm tired. How should I phrase that?
You could just say you move the public hearing from 5/19 to what day are you looking at?
I move the public hearing for ordinance 26-032 to the same day as that natural resources tax ordinance date. I think it was July, right? June 16th.
16th of June,
Yeah.
I think.
6/19.
I think we'll have a better understanding on what's going on across the state and what's a realistic thing as far as us. So, all
Can I
right.
just make a comment?
Let me
Do we need to
see,
vote
is
on
there objection to moving that public hearing on the sales tax until
Only,
June
Mike,
6th?
that just what they'll say to you, what the public will say, why did we wait until after the budget hearings were over? That, because that was the problem. One of those comments that was frequently made, don't let that have any effect on it. Do just expect it, because they would have expected us to. Do you understand what I'm saying? I if I were the public, I'd say, hey, you guys, we had a lot of time to talk about this. Well, but I see your point. I agree with you 100%. Just wanted to let you know that little thing is out there.
I appreciate that, and I completely understand. I'll take the shots. I'll take the hits. I'm okay with that. I want this to be done right. I want this to be correct, and we have until August to get it on the ballot. My understanding. So we've got time. We don't need to force this. We don't need to move this quickly. And I want everybody who has concerns to show up to meetings, to call us, send us emails. Let us know your concerns, for, against, ideas, amendments. I've got this ordinance out to multiple organizations for their review and their feedback on this. And so I plan on bringing those to the meeting as well. They deal with taxes and those sorts of things. And so I see Assemblyman Sumner's hands up, so I'll stop rambling.
Okay, Assemblyperson Sumner.
I was just going to add that, it has been advertised for that meeting. So at this late hour postponing it, there may be people that show up to the meeting to talk about it or expecting that we're going to discuss it. So, I mean, I think that the more appropriate thing to do would be to leave it on for a public hearing and then postpone discussion or passing it that night. That way the people that are expecting to come out and talk about it can come out and talk about it.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I can get behind that as well. I just
So
want this, like I said, I want this to be right. I want this.
Do you want to, or are you asking to withdraw your motion then?
I'm okay with that as well. I agree with some.
We can't do both, sir.
I know.
We've done a lot of things tonight, but we
No,
cannot do.
I'm not gonna
both.
pull my motion. Let's go ahead and vote on it. If other people want to move the date, if not, I'm not gonna be offended or anything. I just, like I said, I want this to be right. So, yep.
So you can leave your motion on the
Correct.
floor?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Yep.
Okay. Do you have any other, okay, so we need to vote on that then. Everybody understand what that is? We're moving it from the vote.
I can get the members to go ahead and vote on changing the public hearing date. Assemblymember Bernier. Madam Mayor, it has passed with Assembly members McKee, Sumner, and Gamble opposed.
All right. Thank you. And so, with that, I appreciate the conversation on LIDs. I appreciate where we settled. We all have varying opinions on property rights, and that's okay. So I appreciate those that voted to keep 67% for voting that direction. I do appreciate that. And with that, it is really a privilege to be in this seat. It's a privilege to serve District 1, and I thank you for putting me here, and have a good night.
Assemblyperson Gamble.
Thank you, Madam
parting
Mayor.
comments?
Yeah, I'm not really opposed to postponing the discussion to a later date, but I will say with oil at $110 a barrel right now, the chances of a sales tax or 4% or whatever the other tax is, and I never want to say never with Juno, but it's probably slim of passing. But discussing it after Juno does whatever it's going to do is fine. But more than anything, I've been either a volunteer or a full-time employee with the borough, or I was for, almost 30 years. And Mike, I've worked with a lot of managers and a lot of mayors, a lot of assembly members over those almost 30 years. And you are probably one of the steadiest hands I've seen at the manager's position. Like Stephanie said, you're cool and calm under fire, and you've been tested here lately. And I think you've done an outstanding job. In fact, I would count you in the top 2 managers that I've had the privilege of serving with over, the many years that I've been part of the borough. So thank you very much for your service.
Parting comments, Assemblyperson Fauna.
Thank you. It was interesting to see Mr. Bowles and Miss Nowers fighting on the same side against the rest of the body. That's a new one to me, but some things never stop surprising me. It's like me and Stephanie voting twice in a life on the same side. I guess when we made a history, I think it was back in the last year. I wanted to ask manager. We've heard now several times from the gentleman, don't know the name, about the fire hydrant and and the safety of that. Maybe in next meeting, and managers would just give us a report. I don't know if this is something that's related to that, but I kind of want to, unless you already have information here, to know what is it that his attempt to get, and if it's within our jurisdiction, that we can petition or ask the state for the fire hydrant or for the turn lane for fill station, because it seems what he's bringing is a valid point. However, I'd like to get educated on this to know what is it that to fully understand what he's asking, and if it's something that we could petition or ask DOT or whatever it takes, if it has a safety factor associated with it. I would really love to get an answer from that, if I may. It sounds like you have something to say.
So through the mayor, if I may, I'll just put it in tomorrow's weekly post and maybe save a few minutes at the next assembly meeting.
Okay, that'd be great.
So in my parting remarks, on Thursday night, I will not be here. That's the first time in 4+ years. Deputy Mayor Ron will be hosting the meeting. I will be listening in because I'll just be in Kenai, and you'll move down here. We don't know what we're going to do with the dog, but when you're trying to gavel or something. So anyway. Pardon?
No idea. I haven't been.
Are there going to be more than 3 of us at the convention? Do we need to discuss that?
I don't know who's all going.
Anybody would. Can I ask, are you all going to be gone Thursday?
I'll be online.
Okay.
Correct. If there's more than 3 of us, we need to publicly disclose that.
Are you going to be online?
I'll be
Thursday
online,
night?
but we'll be attending that event together. Yeah.
Can you turn on your mic, please, so people can hear what you're saying?
I don't know. I don't think I understand the question. Am I going to the convention? Yes, it starts Thursday. I'm going to the convention that starts on Thursday, and I will be there on Thursday.
I will be there as well, but I will be calling into the meeting on Thursday.
Oh, I see what you, geez, I don't know. Depends on, I don't know.
Is there none?
What?
Is there 4 of us going? We probably need to disclose that. It sounds like there's only 3. Okay, that's the point. Okay.
So what do I have to do?
You have to call in the meeting Thursday.
What if they're having the convention on Thursday?
We're going to have 3 of the 7 of us gone for our budget discussion. Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm going to be on 3 to 8.
Okay, you're going to be online, and Ms.
What time
McKee,
is
are you
what
going to
time
be?
is the budget discussion?
Should be online.
And last couple hours?
I'll be online. I can't vote. or
Oh, okay,
anything
so it's
that
just
I
2 assembly
thought
members.
could
And,
take
okay.
it.
Okay, I'll call in.
Yeah, so
Well, I'm listening. I'm gonna
everybody will
listen out
be
of
here
2 ears.
then, maybe except for D.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so there's no executive session, so we will adjourn at 9:16.
Good Lord, thank you, Jesus. It's a shorter meeting than usual, but I feel shell-shocked.
I got to grab somebody.
You will now be disconnected.
George is waiting for me, so.
Oh, he is. Okay.
That's right.
If you have to go, go. I'm just going to
Nah,
try to.
how long do you think it will take, Steph? 5 minutes?
Minute?
Yeah, a minute, good.